Chapter 281. Tsunade loved gambling all her life. No matter what, she never gave up on this hobby. That's why she was later crowned as a fat sheep. After our bold speculation and careful evidence, we finally came to a conclusion. Gambling is actually a way for this great ninja to commemorate the first Naruto. Or, it's a way for her to divert attention after experiencing so many vicissitudes of life. Or, it's actually a way for her to warn those who want to embark on the road of gambling. The above is taken from the legendary Sannin, The Unknown Side, also known as prostitution, gambling, and drugs. Compared to the serious nonsense above, Akira Uchiha is much more realistic. He has seen through Tsunade's nature. She's a gambler. So when he proposed gambling, Tsunade's interest was aroused. After thinking for a while, she let him in. As for the broken door, that old man Sandaime Hokage should soon send the Umbu to fix it. Boy, what do you want to play? By the way, since last night, my gambling luck has been off the charts. After entering the main hall, Tsunade came to the only short table. With a wave of her hand, she swept the mountain of empty beer cans and a large pile of lunchboxes that were about to emit a strange smell to the ground. Seeing this scene, Akira Uchiha's mouth almost fell to the back of his head. Goddess disillusioned. But he can't help it. Who told him to ask for help? Even if he's a clean freak, he can only endure it. I'm not very good at poker or dice, but since it's a game, let's try something new. After he finished speaking, he took out a deck of newly bought, unopened poker cards from his pocket. After all this talk, isn't it still a game of poker? Tsunade snorted a little. I played all night yesterday, and I didn't lose. Really? Chen was a little flustered. Just a few days ago, he was still the fat sheep that everyone loved, and now his luck has suddenly changed? What the hell is going on? If Tsunade is lucky, who knows how many people will suffer and how many people will be unlucky? Therefore, it's obviously not a good idea to look for Tsunade at this time. That's not right. According to my observation, you should have come back last night. Where did you go to play all night? Don't be so surprised. Can't I play alone? Then I'll have to ask my shadow clone. Tsunade said matter-of-factly. Usually I call her 2P. Of course, there's 3P. Do you want to see it? Forget it. You'd better keep that thing to yourself. As Uchiha Chen began to explain the rules, Tsunade was disappointed. It's still a competition of points. What kind of tricks can he play? Don't say that. The rules are different. It's not just about points. It's a kid's game. If you keep talking, I'm going back. Why don't you continue with your 3P? Don't. Tsunade stepped over the table and grabbed Akira Uchiha's arm. I won't say anything. Golden Flower is a deck of poker cards excluding the king and queen. There are a total of 4 suits and 52 cards. There are a total of 6 types. Akira Uchiha spread out all the cards in his hand. They are divided into leopard, straight flush, golden flower, tractor, pair, and single. The comparison of the card types will naturally follow this order. Tsunade listened to Akira Uchiha's explanation while his eyes seemed to be shining. Of course, his target was not Akira Uchiha, but the cards on the table. Akira Uchiha had already foreseen this result. After all, this was a chess game that was popular in his previous life. Not only was it easy to learn, it was also easy to get addicted to gambling. Of course, the most important thing was that it was easy to cheat in Golden Flower. Akira Uchiha was an expert in this field. As for whether or not he would be discovered by Tsunade, Chen didn't dare to say anything about other gambling methods, but at the very least, he was confident in the Golden Flower, not to mention that he added so many points to his hand seals and practiced his hand speed for so long, so how could he not fool a newbie who just entered the pit? As for the rules, Tsunade, sensei should be clear. I won't say much. Akira Uchiha revealed a harmless smile. Then I'll deal the cards? Tsunade, who was inexplicably confident in her luck, thought for a while before nodding. But in the end, she added, Kid, you know the rules of ninja gambling, right? Of course, it's not allowed to use chakra, it's not allowed to use actions that exceed the limits of ordinary people's vision, it's not allowed to use bloodline limits or secret techniques, right? Since you know it clearly, then it's easy. Tsunade was full of confidence. But there was no suspense in the first game. She lost. Tsunade, Ken, there must be a mistake somewhere. It's only the first game. Continue. She appeared, exasperated gambler mode. However, the next 7 games were no different from the first game. Oh, there were still some differences. Tsunade's cards were getting smaller and smaller. In the end, it was the worst card, 235. In all honesty, Akira Uchiha did not cheat even once. It seemed that Tsunade's so-called luck was only in her 2p situation. What an interesting expression. Ahem, it's an interesting time. Tsunade, sensei, you've played for so long. It's getting late. I'll come and play with you in 2 days. After saying this, Akira Uchiha did not clean up the scattered cards on the table. Instead, he stood up and walked toward the door. 1 step, 2 steps, Akira Uchiha calculated in his heart while waiting for Tsunade to call him. Sure enough, when he was about to walk out of the living room, Tsunade moved. However, she did not speak as expected. Orochimaru has long commented that Tsunade was very masculine. This comment was very accurate, so a strong force pressed on Akira Uchiha's shoulder. Kacha! The wooden floor, which had been in disrepair for a long time, was soon overwhelmed. You want to go back after playing a few games? How can it be so easy? Are you rushing to the red light district to find Jiraiya? No, I'm rushing back to see Mikoto. Right now, Shinakushina and Nanoyu are accompanying her. Leave Mikoto's injury to me. Even if her injury needs to be treated, the hospital needs to prepare the medicine. It can't be prepared in 1 or 2 days. There's no hurry. As a price, you have to play with me for half an hour. No, an hour. Tsunade counted with her fingers and found that half an hour was not enough for her, so she quickly changed her words. Akira Uchiha nodded calmly and then reluctantly said, "Since Tsunade-sensei has asked, as a disciple, how can I refuse? In fact, it's not only Mikoto who needs to be treated, there's also Ji-Lu's father lying at home. With the face of the Hyuga patriarch, he can naturally persuade Sandaime Naruto to let him come to Tsunade, but since he promised Ji-Lu, Akira Uchiha has to personally say it to make her feel at ease. So in the following time, Akira Uchiha honestly sat at the low table in the living room and really played with Tsunade for more than an hour. In order not to let Tsunade lose too badly and have a sense of resistance to this game, Akira Uchiha still threw the game a few times. In the end, Tsunade, who won a few games, finally patted Akira Uchiha's shoulder with satisfaction, and after the end, she personally sent him to the door of the entrance. Come to play next time, I'll wait for you. Tsunade didn't mention the so-called treatment at all. It said that people become shrewd with age. It seems that this auntie in her 20s is really shameless. Akira Uchiha smiled and said nothing. Since Tsunade said that she will prepare, then she will definitely prepare. As for the eyes of Hyuga Sky, he will talk about it next time. Anyway, he doesn't need to worry that Tsunade won't fall for it. Chapter 282. After coming out of Tsunade's place, Akira Uchiha walked towards his home. Because he stayed in the hospital for a few days, he had to go back to get a change of clothes. Mikoto was under the care of Shinakushina, so there was no problem for him to go at night. But before he took a few steps, he was stopped by someone. The person in the lead was Akira Uchiha's acquaintance, Hyuga Chofeng. Chofeng-senpai, I haven't seen you for almost a year, right? The two exchanged a little greeting. Akira Uchiha met him on the battlefield in the Land of Rain. At that time, he saved the Hyuga branch family's member. After that, they met several times in the country of Kawa, but there was no news of him since a year ago. Akira Uchiha thought that he died on the battlefield. Later, he asked Ji-Lu and learned that he retreated to the village with the Hyuga clan's young patriarch. Our patriarch knows that you have nothing to do recently, so he asked me to invite you to the clan for a gathering. For the kid in front of him, Hyuga Chofong is very respectful. Although the other party is younger than him by more than 10 years, the gap between the two is too big in terms of strength, not to mention that Akira Uchiha saved his life. Hearing Hyuga Chofong's words, Akira Uchiha was a little puzzled. In addition to being very familiar with Ji Lu, he only met the Hyuga clan's patriarch once in the Land of Rain. At that time, after he defeated Shikaku with Kirin, it was Hyuga Akira who saved him and Sarutobi Shinsuke, and then there was no intersection. So this invitation seems a bit too abrupt. Is Ji Lu's father going to settle accounts with him? No, I didn't kidnap his daughter, at most. I just came up with some bad ideas behind his back. Although he was puzzled, Akira Uchiha didn't hesitate at all. If that's the case, then it's better to accept. After that, the three of them walked towards the Hyuga clan. The Hyuga clan is located in the south of the village. In terms of its isolation, it is not much worse than Uchiha. Of course, this was also a common problem for such large clans. After all, how many years had Wood Leaf existed? To put it bluntly, even the Fire Nation's history couldn't compare to theirs. They were confident that they knew how to preserve their bloodline better than anyone else, but it was precisely this arrogance in their bones that led to their current situation. They didn't understand that the times had changed. They also didn't know that if they didn't change, it would mean extinction. However, everything is afraid of comparison. Compared to Uchiha, the Hyuga clan's way of doing things is not so extreme. This is related to Wood Leaf suppression of Uchiha and the various interests involved, but it is undeniable that the Hyuga clan is better than Uchiha. In this war, Hyuga Akira, as the patriarch, used a forbidden technique to resist Chiyo's attack. Although there was a problem with his eyes, it was worth it. Compared to the Uchiha jumping down from the top of the mountain, the difference is really not small. However, this is not surprising. The overall strength of the Hyuga clan is there. They also want to be arrogant and domineering, but they are not strong enough. The most typical example is Naruto. Relying on his strength and background, he married the legal heir of the Hyuga clan. According to the custom, Naruto should marry into the family and change his name to Hyuga Naruto. So Hayashi's heart is bitter. If this happened to the Uchiha clan, Naruto would want to snatch Sasuke, and Fugaku would beat him up. Cough, 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 the chances of being beaten up are also very high. In short, in this respect, Watergate's luck is not very good. Obviously, they are both Naruto, and they are both heroes. Why does his son not have to marry into the family, but he is inexplicably married into the family? I am not satisfied with the real name system. When the three stepped into the Hyuga clan's land, the two brothers Hyuga Hayashi and Hyuga Hizashi were already standing at the door. Son, long time no see, Hayashi stepped forward and took Akira Uchiha's hand as if they were familiar with each other. Compared to Hayashi's enthusiasm, Hizashi was a bit cold. He just nodded and said nothing. As for why Akira Uchiha can distinguish who is the older brother and who is the younger brother at a glance, even though they are twins. Come on, with that bitter and unsmiling face, if he is not the younger brother, how can he be the older brother? In other words, if Akira Uchiha was planted with the caged bird, it is estimated that in a few years, he will become like this. Time made the most lively person become silent. This sentence was not without reason. Even if you look carefully, you will find that Hizashi, the younger brother, is actually a bit more mature than his older brother. If you don't know, you will think that Hizashi is a few years older than Hayashi. Since young clan leader is here, we will go back first. Hyuga Akiya and the ninjas who were with him bowed respectfully and quickly retreated. Although the words were very respectful to Hayashi, there was an indescribable alienation in the tone. Hayashi opened his mouth to say something, but in the end, he could only sigh silently. Akira Uchiha looked on coldly but didn't say anything. Otherwise, what can he say? Stay and eat. Come on, this will only make it difficult for everyone. So, he simply shut up. When the three walked into the living room, except for the Hyuga clan leader and Ji Lu, no one else was there. Ha ha ha, son, you are here. I haven't seen you for 2 years. You should have grown a lot taller, right? Hyuga Akiya's eyes are not very good. so he can only vaguely see. With the help of Ji Lu, he slowly walked forward. After the two exchanged greetings, he immediately asked Akira Uchiha to take a seat. Akira Uchiha nodded and then sat next to Ji Lu. I heard from Ji Lu that you've been back for a few days. Uncle has been busy with the clan's affairs and didn't have the time to call you over to welcome you back. This matter is my fault. Chin, please don't blame Uncle. What's the matter? I am just an idle person. Haha, if even a wood-leaf hero like you is an idle person, then shouldn't I retire? Hyuga Akiya took a sip of tea. But seriously, I have to admit that I am old. Compared with a genius like you, I should have retired to the second line long ago. You are joking. If it weren't for Senpai blocking Chiyo on the Land of Rain battlefield, we don't know how many losses we would have suffered. Akira Uchiha complimented with a smile. Ha 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 ha. Hearing his words, Hyuga Akiya seemed to enjoy it, but when he talked about Chiyo, he sighed. I didn't expect the former flower of shinobi to fall like this. Akira Uchiha raised his eyebrows. How can he answer this kind of words? Looking at Hyuga Akiya's regretful look, he almost directly said, she was 18 years old that year, I was 18 years old too. In short, in a few days, the Sand Ninja will come over to sign the defeat agreement. After 3 rounds of meal, the maid of the Hyuga clan added a lot of new dishes, and Hyuga Akiya said this intentionally or unintentionally. Ha, so soon. I thought it would take until the Land of Thunder and Land of Earth had a winner. Akira Uchiha thought for a while and said, they can't wait any longer. Chiyo and the 3 generations of Kozakage are in our hands. Not to mention that the village needs someone to preside over the overall situation, they also need someone to bear the anger of the daimyo. And I heard that Shikaku appeared in the sand-hidden village. This guy really knows how to loot a burning house. Knowing that the 3 generations of Kozakage is not here, he went crazy to steal from them. As one of the ninja who created one of the greatest achievements in this war, you must be present when the Sand Village signs the defeat agreement. Oh, such a grand scene, people may not be able to catch up with it once in a lifetime. Do you feel very excited? It's okay, I feel a little hungry. After handing the empty bowl to Ji Lu, Akira Uchiha said so. Haha, you kid. Hyuga Akiya smiled and shook his head. This character of playing the pig to eat the tiger is completely different from Kuroto. I'm just telling you that, but I want to talk to you about something else, he suddenly said seriously. There is news that the Uchiha clan seems to want to accept the task of escorting Sakura Shinobu out of the Land of Fire after signing the agreement. Akira Uchiha took a cold breath. When it comes to being an old fox and being well informed, he really can't compare with the middle-aged man in front of him. Chapter 283. Woodleaf won a great victory in the Second Shinobi World War, which is something that all ninjas know. But many people don't know that the Uchiha clan suffered a lot of losses when they tried to stop Sakura Shinobu. When there are losses, there are casualties, and when there are casualties, there is hatred. This is a truth that applies to ordinary people, let alone the Uchiha clan who carry the name of love. Too long of peace may have made this clan a little numb, but it is also because of this numbness that when the pain comes, the fluctuations caused by it will be more lasting. Therefore, if there is anyone who hates Sakura Shinobu the most now, it is undoubtedly the Uchiha clan. And as the Hyuga clan who has been with Uchiha for thousands of years, their understanding of this is undoubtedly very deep. This is also the purpose of Hyuga Taka's words to Akira Uchiha. It is to remind him that the Uchiha clan wants to attack the Sand Village's negotiation team. Hyuga Taka's kindness is naturally selfish. There is no need to say much about the strength of the boy in front of him. If he appears in the escort team, then the success rate of the Uchiha clan's revenge will be very high. Naturally, if Akira Uchiha does not follow, then the success rate will be reduced, and even if the operation is right, it is not impossible for the Uchiha clan to suffer heavy losses again. Secondly, Akira Uchiha is the son of Kage, and the disciple of Sandaime Naruto. This relationship is originally stuck between the Uchiha clan and Naruto clan. From the results of Hyuga Taka's observation, Akira Uchiha is faintly biased towards Sandaime Naruto. In this case, he He might as well use this matter to continue to widen the rift between him and the Uchiha clan. Of course, he also had a little selfish motive. Look, I'm already helping you. My daughter is in your team. How can you not help me protect her? Therefore, Hyuga Sky is a real old fox. He will not give any advice, he will only provide information so that Akira Uchiha can be prepared, and the final decision will be made by Akira Uchiha himself. This was an open conspiracy. However, Akira Uchiha couldn't refuse Hikari's kindness. After all, being prepared and not being prepared were two different things. Otherwise, if Mount Uchiha really came looking for him and asked him to carry out the escort mission, should he go or not? After that, the few of them ate for a while and casually chatted about some things on the battlefield. However, the most important things had been said, so the banquet was almost over. Akira Uchiha received unexpected news, and Hyuga Sky also received a lot of interesting things. At least one thing can be proven, Uchiha Chen's talent as a ninja is very strong, and his IQ isn't low either. At least, he isn't the typical Uchiha clan's long-out yen, and his troublesome daughter won't be bullied in his team. After eating, Hyuga Sky asked Ji Lu to take Akira Uchiha to the clan for a stroll, but Hizashi, who had a deep hatred, stared at Akira Uchiha fiercely before leaving. The meaning was very obvious. If you dare to touch my sister, don't blame me for being ruthless. In this regard, Akira Uchiha could only smile bitterly. Is my character so low? He really said loudly, I'm not a pervert, I'm a decent person. With Ji Lu leading the way, the two quickly walked to the street of the Hyuga clan. The street was very quiet. One is because it is dinner time, and there is a lack of entertainment, and now it is not the time for wood leaf ceremony, so there are not many people. When passing by a store, Akira Uchiha walked in and bought 2 cups of yogurt. Here you go. Huh? Ji Lu tilted his head and showed a puzzled expression. Don't pretend, I know you didn't eat enough at night and are just in a daze. After passing a cup to Ji Lu, he also opened his own cup, leaned against a bench by the grass, and drank the thick sour liquid in one gulp. What, you don't like it? No, it's the first time I drank it, it feels weird. Ji Lu shook his head. You are the eldest daughter of the Hyuga clan, and you have never drunk yogurt? Akira Uchiha showed an unbelievable expression. My father is very strict, he didn't allow us to buy things on the roadside when we were young. Then what did you drink before? Well, Ji Lu thought for a while and said, the spring water of the Island of Ice. Why does it sound so familiar? Well, the ninja school book introduced that the Island of Ice in the country of water is rich in spring water. This is the life of a rich person, worthy of being a descendant of the moon. The taste is different. Do you like yogurt? Ji Lu rarely took the initiative to ask. Yes, when I am no longer a ninja, I am going to open a yogurt shop in Woodleaf. Isn't it a bakery? Akira Uchiha scratched his head awkwardly. How do you know? Mikoto told me. She actually told you these things. Akira Uchiha was a little surprised. But it is not conflicting to sell yogurt and bread at the same time. Okay. Ji Lu's face showed an inexplicable smile. The wind blew, blowing her hair and clothes, making a rustling sound, and at the same time, mixed with the swaying of grass and trees and the chirping of insects. Then what are you going to do when you are not a ninja? Me. She shook her head. Actually, I don't even know what will happen tomorrow. Actually, everyone is like this. Is that so? Chen is like this too? Of course. But you don't seem to be confused at all. How is that possible? Uchiha Chen smiled calmly and continued, sometimes, I'm also very confused, but I'm just doing what I can, that's all. Is that so? After saying that, Ji Lu looked at Uchiha Chen's face that was staring at the distant Uchiha Chen, looking like a helpless child. Further away, there was a high and deep sky, and between the layers of clouds, the white Milky Way was clearly visible. Chapter 284. 2 days later, in the early morning, Akira Uchiha was awakened by the loud cry of an eagle in the sky. This command was used to summon Woodleaf Jonin, and according to Hyuga Akira, the messenger of the Sand Village should be coming soon. After getting up from the single bed in the ward, Akira Uchiha washed a little, then said hello to Mikoto, and walked toward the Naruto office building. On the way, he encountered Hatsuki Shigeru. "What's wrong, Shigeru-san? Why are you so happy?" "It's Shin." Akira Uchiha didn't hide his presence, and Shigeru didn't notice him until he spoke. It can only be said that Akira Uchiha was too absent-minded. "I have a blind date tomorrow, and I will get married after a while." Although he said this sentence in a calm tone, the expression on his face wasn't like that. The joy that can't be hidden has already leaked from the corner of his mouth. "Is that so? Congratulations. I will definitely attend your wedding." Akira Uchiha said this, but in his heart, he wanted to complain, "You have a blind date tomorrow, why are you getting married after a while?" Now that marriage is no longer popular in Woodleaf Village, has it become popular to get married before meeting? Shigeru obviously didn't notice Akira Uchiha's expression. He was still indulging in the fantasy of his future wife, walking with Akira Uchiha on the way to the Naruto office building. But he felt that it was a bit rude, so after a while, Shigeru reluctantly stopped his fantasy and asked, "I haven't seen you for a few days, did you go to perform an S-level mission?" After all, now that the war is over, there are still a lot of missions piled up in the village that need to be completed. In Shigeru's perception, a ninja who has reached the level of Akira Uchiha is either performing an S-level mission or waiting for an S-level mission to appear. There is nothing else. If it weren't for the fact that he had to go on a blind date recently, he would have gone out to carry out a mission long ago. "I probably won't be going out for a while. You know, Mikoto's hand is injured, and I'm still in charge of the first shift." "Yeah, with Tsunade around, Mikoto should be fine." Shigeru nodded. "Also, being a Jonin sensei is very difficult. Chen, you have to work hard. If you are a good sensei, I will entrust my daughter to you in a few years." This sentence was really worth ridiculing. First of all, was it really good to be so confident that she would definitely give birth to a daughter? How could Kakashi endure this? Secondly, Senior Shigeru, can't you have a wife first? The blind date was tomorrow. Why was he already fantasizing about his daughter? In such a strange conversation, the two walked to Naruto's office. When they entered the office on the second floor, there were already a lot of ninjas gathered inside. Sandaime Naruto sat in the chair behind the desk, nodding to Akira Uchiha and Shigeru without saying anything. After a while, a few more ninjas arrived, and the last one was Jiraiya and Orochimaru. Jiraiya's white hair was very long because of his sleeping posture, and there was a pillow mark on his face. This sloppy appearance, even the third Hokage couldn't stand it, but he couldn't say anything on this occasion, so he just coughed twice to express his dissatisfaction. In contrast, Orochimaru was a lot cleaner, but the ninjas with a slightly sensitive nose didn't have the slightest intention to approach him. Akira Uchiha sniffed the air in Naruto's office, and sure enough, he smelled the smell of blood mixed with formalin. There was also a rancid smell mixed with it, and Kuroto didn't know what Orochimaru was doing this morning. Did he sleep in Woodleaf's morgue last night? So, when it comes to being sloppy, Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and Tsunade are actually the same, worthy of being the trio of prostitution, gambling, and drugs. Hey, speaking of Tsunade, why didn't I see her? Is she still having fun in the casino? Well, since almost everyone is here, let's start the Jonin meeting. Sitting in the back of the office, Sandaime Naruto's flying ape Nichiren coughed lightly, and didn't intend to continue waiting for Tsunade. First of all, I would like to thank all the Jonins here for their efforts. Because of your efforts after the war, Woodleaf has steadily entered a high-speed recovery period. Today, I called you here not only because of the usual meeting, but also because of a more important matter. All the Jonins didn't speak, but quietly listened to Sandaime Naruto's words. Sand Village has agreed to sign the defeat agreement a few days ago, but the specific discussion will be carried out tomorrow, and they will arrive this afternoon. The venue has been organized, and the main thing that needs to be assigned at present is the issue of security and maintenance. There are a large number of Umbu in the village, and what you need to be responsible for is the situation inside the venue, and the transfer of Sakura Shinobu's captives, namely the 3 generations of Kazekage and Chiyo. The third Hokage picked up a map from the table that had already been planned. At this time, the 3 generations of Kazekage should be imprisoned in the prison, and after being strengthened by Woodleaf Sealing Team, they are no different from ordinary people. Coupled with a large number of Umbu and Root ninjas sent by Sandaime Naruto, it can be said that they are foolproof. Moreover, even if Sakura Shinobu signed the defeat agreement, and the Kazekage and Chiyo agreed to hand over the captives, Sakura Shinobu's sealing team won't be able to unseal the captives in Woodleaf. Although Konoha wasn't afraid of the Sand Village's strength, if they started a war in Konoha's village, Konoha would have to consider the safety of many civilians. Of course, unless there is something wrong with Sand Village's head, they won't do such a thing. After that, things were very simple. After the third Hokage specifically assigned the surveillance scope and combat deployment of the Jonin, the meeting that lasted more than an hour was finally over. By the way, Jiraiya, Orochimaru, Shigeru, and Shen, you 4 stay here, the others can go back. After the meeting, Sandaime Naruto suddenly said. Chapter 285. Flying Ape Nichiren didn't mention the names of Orochimaru and the other 3 when he was assigning the combat power. Naturally, he had other uses for them. Everyone could guess that Orochimaru and the other 3 captured the 3 generations of Kazekage. They could be regarded as the 4 people with the greatest contribution on the battlefield. Naturally, they would participate in this negotiation. Even if it was just to be a mascot. Well, they were really going to be mascots. After all, the youngest of the 4 was only 12 years old, and the oldest was only 24 years old. They were good on the battlefield, but they weren't good enough in politics. But then again, even if they were going to be mascots, there would be a group of people licking their faces and trying to get close to them. This kind of big scene couldn't be seen once in many years. If they could go in and take a look, it would be a good topic for their children and grandchildren to talk about in the future. Thinking back, I was also at the scene. That scene, it was quite big. It was really, gongs and drums, firecrackers, village flags fluttering, a sea of people. With one step, Sakura Shinobu was trampled to death several times. Thinking of this, everyone looked at Orochimaru and the other 3 with burning eyes. But even if they were envious, they still had a plan. If they really rushed up to the 3 generations of Kazekage and Shikaku, they didn't know if they could see the red flag fluttering, but it was certain that they would see the flag fluttering. Everyone also understood that the position of the 4th Naruto was probably going to be decided between the 3 ninjas and Shigeru. As for Akira Uchiha, he was naturally ignored. There was no other reason, he was too young. When the 4 of them walked out of the office, the sun was shining brightly outside. Akira Uchiha looked up at the sky. The clouds were very thick, reflecting the brilliance of the sun, like a picture scroll that was changing every moment. So you decided to use Mikoto's injury as an excuse? Orochimaru suddenly asked such a question in a hoarse voice. Yes, what else can I do? I can't go out to perform the mission now. Akira Uchiha shrugged. The 2 of them were discussing the Uchiha's plan to attack the Sand Village's negotiation team. After returning from Hyuga Sky, Akira Uchiha discussed with Orochimaru through the summoned snake and finally came up with such a reason. Mikoto had to undergo surgery, so he couldn't leave for the time being. This reason was impeccable. Everyone knew the relationship between him and Mikoto. But Orochimaru still couldn't believe it. Obviously the war was already over. Why would they take the risk to launch a sneak attack? You should know that the village will compensate you for your losses during the war, but the village will definitely not compensate you for your losses caused by your own actions. In fact, the village will even be happy to see it happen. And in Orochi's view, there was no right or wrong SSSS. This. And S's, S and the Marus, they sand. And benefits, they and this. But there are exceptions to everything. If it weren't for the fact that Uchiha's, it would be difficult to think of their plan. So, don't look at Orochimaru's intelligence and strength now, but in terms of experience and understanding of people's hearts, he's still lacking. At least, he's not as good as the old fox Hyuga Sky. That's it. I still have an experiment to do, so I'll go back first. Orochimaru was ready to leave. Don't. Jiraiya suddenly grabbed his arm. Since the end of the war, the four of us haven't gotten together. Let's take advantage of this. We'll be busy in the afternoon anyway. Okay. Shigeru nodded. He had nothing to do. Seeing Akira Uchiha's hesitation, Jiraiya quickly added, "It's my treat." Akira Uchiha's eyes lit up and was about to agree, but Jiraiya added, "The place is in the alley on the east side of the commercial street. I think you all know where it is, right?" The expression on Akira Uchiha's face froze. He knew exactly where it was. 2 years ago, when he returned to Woodleaf, he was cheated by the rope tree, and then he invited hundreds of classmates to eat there. Originally, he pretended to be Tsunade to take credit, but later he was found out. Helplessly, he could only pretend to be Jiraiya. God knows how much the interest would be after 2 years of debt. Anyway, it wouldn't be too little. Otherwise, Jiraiya wouldn't be so angry. I've only returned to the village 3 times in the past 4 years. Why is it that when I'm not there, there's a large amount of money on my account every year? Who can explain it to me? Akira Uchiha was sure that he had only taken credit once, and the rest must have had nothing to do with him. Jiraiya, I still have an experiment to do. Why don't you ask Tsunade? Orochimaru was somewhat lacking in confidence. Tsunade, of course. I'll treat her later. Yesterday, she ordered takeout under my name. Huh? Chen, where are you going? Ahaha, I'm going to the toilet. Frequent urination, you know. The honest man Shigeru looked at the quarrel in front of him with a dumbfounded expression. At the same time, he secretly decided that he would never give his daughter to Akira Uchiha. At this time, thousands of miles away in the hidden sand village. Compared to the peaceful atmosphere in Woodleaf, this place was somewhat depressing. The clouds of war haven't completely dispersed from here, and the 3 generations of Kozakage were still in the hands of Woodleaf. Only unknown exploitation awaited them. Yesterday, Sakura Shinobu's negotiation team had already set off, and Ebizo didn't follow the team to Woodleaf. The village now lacked high-end combat power, and as one of the elders, he must stay to preside over the overall situation and defend against Crane's sneak attack. At noon, he crossed the empty street and walked toward the Ninja Academy. Every day at this time was his favorite time. Away from all kinds of complicated things, he could enjoy the rare quiet. The sky in the hidden sand village was always inexplicably bright, and the rows of tall sand castles were like giants against the sky. Looking at the scenery in front of him, he realized that this kind of peace was what he wanted. But the price was too high. 11:30. He looked at his watch and frowned, because usually, Sasori should have come out of the school at this time. But he didn't see anyone yet. What, Sasori didn't come to class this morning? Yes, Ebizo-sama, I thought you knew. Ebizo wasn't in the mood to care about this irresponsible Chunin, so he quickly walked toward his home. But he didn't find Sasori at home. So he went to several places that Sasori often went, but he didn't find anything. Ebizo was a little anxious. If Sasori disappeared, he really didn't know what Chio would do when she came back. But where could he go? Suddenly, a tremor ran through his body. Could it be? He turned around and ran toward the graveyard of the hidden sand village. Chapter 286. The graveyard of the sand-hidden village was in a canyon in the easternmost part of the village. He didn't know if it was because of geographical factors or because of the tombstone, but it always gave people a cold feeling. 4-year-old Sasori sat on the cold ground, staring at the picture of his parents on the tombstone, trembling. For a year, he always held various fantasies, looking into the distance at the entrance of the village, waiting for the return of his parents. He didn't want to return to an empty home, because when he pressed the light switch at night, surrounded by darkness, he couldn't help but cry. They will be back soon. That was what everyone told him. But, even if it's just a lie, he thought. All I need is this sentence, but why do you have to expose it? Sasori remembered the roar of Chunin-sensei in the morning. Your parents died long ago. My son was also killed by your grandmother. Why don't you die? Why did the amiable sensei suddenly become like this? Sasori didn't know, and he didn't want to know, because only one thing lingered in his mind: your parents are dead. Looking at the cold tombstone in front of him, his nose was sour, hot air blocked his throat, his chest was uncomfortable, and tears oozed out of his eyes. Sasori pressed his palms tightly to his eyes to stop all this, but the tears kept falling from his eyes. Suddenly he stood up, holding the completely faded assembled puppet in his hand. He slammed it on the ground. The puppet hit the ground and made a squeaking sound, then it was torn apart and scattered around. But the next second, Sasori regretted. He quickly bent down to pick up the broken puppet, but his toes slipped on a stone, and his whole body fell heavily on the ground. But he didn't care about the pain. He continued to pick up the puppet fragments, but finally he stopped and began to cry on the ground. Hai Laozong stood not far behind Sasori. He couldn't help but sigh. After a while, he slowly approached. "Second grandpa, is my grandmother dead?" "No." Woodleaf was caught. "She should be back in a few days." "Yes." Sasori slowly stood up. "Don't tell her, I already know that my parents are dead." His tone was stiff, as if there was no emotion. I know." Hai Laozong sighed. "Sister, come back quickly." While old Hai was praying, Sakura Shinobu's negotiation team finally arrived at Woodleaf Hidden Village. The venue for Woodleaf's meeting was not located in the Naruto office building. Although the place was grand, it was still in the center of the village. If anything were to happen, Flying Ape Nichiren would not only have to face the criticism of various factions, but also the dissatisfaction of the ordinary villagers. Therefore, this meeting was arranged at the eastern edge of Woodleaf, which was not far from Woodleaf's prison. It was also convenient for the Umbu to escort Kazekage and Chiyo out. When Akira Uchiha and Jiraiya arrived at the venue, it was almost time to start, and there were already many jonins waiting outside. After greeting the guarding ninjas, the four of them walked toward the center of the venue. Sakura Shinobu's people haven't arrived yet. In addition to Naruto, there were also several elders of Woodleaf sitting at the table. "You're here." Flying Ape Nichiren nodded at Orochimaru and the other three, but in such a serious occasion, he didn't say much. But Koharu gave a look, indicating Akira Uchiha to find a place to sit down. But looking at Jiraiya, Shigeru, and Orochimaru all walked toward their respective corners. Akira Uchiha didn't want to sit alone. A mascot should have the consciousness of a mascot. Even if he stood there like a minion, he couldn't help it. He had to decline the kindness of the dorm lady and walked toward his corner. "Is this the son of Kuroto, the youngest jonin of Woodleaf?" A few small exchanges passed to Akira Uchiha's ears. "Yes." Koharu, who was sitting in her seat, whispered to the elders next to her, "He made great contributions in the Land of Rain and the Land of Kawanaji. Isn't he amazing?" The pride in her words was overflowing, and if one didn't know, they would think that Akira Uchiha was her son. Cough. Naruto coughed lightly, but his eyes didn't turn to the elders, but his meaning was obvious. Sure enough, as soon as he coughed, the elders immediately went silent, but there were still a few curious gazes that swept towards the corner where Uchiha was sitting. If it wasn't for the fact that the elders' council was established as a compromise, Sarutobi wouldn't have made this kind of thing unless he had nothing better to do. A village wasn't even enough for him and 3 senior advisors, let alone the elders of the major clans. Although all the power is now in the hands of Sandame Naruto, there's no guarantee that there won't be any problems in the future, or even in the future when Sandame Naruto comes. Not every Naruto has the strength of the first and second dame, and Sandame Naruto's means is also considered powerful among the previous Naruto. So looking at the elders next to him, Sandame Naruto showed a hint of coldness. About 5 minutes later, Woodleaf's ninja finally pushed the door open and walked in. "Sandame Naruto-sama, Sakura Shinobu's emissary has been brought in from the side door, and according to your instructions, they didn't enter Woodleaf from the main door." "Good, bring them in." Sitting at the head of the table, Sandame nodded. Not long after, 5 of Sakura Shinobu's emissaries were brought in by 2 Woodleaf's jonin. "Sandame Naruto, I haven't seen you for many years, you still look the same as before." The leader of the Sand Village took off his hat, revealing a slightly old face. I didn't expect the Sand Village's emissary to be Elder Mossa. If I knew in advance, I would have come out to greet you personally. Sandaime Naruto laughed twice and flicked the ash in his hand. Forget it. Elder Mossa was too lazy to play this game with Flying Ape Nichiren, so he went straight to the point. What about our 3 generations of Kozakage and Elder Chiyo? Don't be so anxious, we still have a lot to discuss. For example, how much are you going to pay this time? Sandaime Naruto showed a kind smile. Chapter 287. If you're poor, put aside disputes, and if you're rich, you're rich. This sentence is naturally the diplomatic strategy of the great celestial empire, but somehow, the old fox Sandaime Hokage has mastered it. What? The Wood Leaf Village was only built 30 years ago. Come on, the first Naruto is from the Senju clan, which has been around for thousands of years, and this doesn't count since ancient times? In short, the words of the third Naruto were full of sarcasm, saying that the Sand Village was a group of nouveau riche with no historical background. This made Sakura Shinobu a little tired. If we really do what you said, we'll have to give up our village. After all, this land used to be under the influence of the Uchiha clan. Even if the third Naruto's nickname is Monkey, looks like a monkey, and his summoned beast is also a monkey, but you can't just say it like that. As soon as the third Naruto's good friend, Danzo, was unhappy. Do you really think that the Wood Leaf Village is gentle and easygoing? He was so irritable that he directly pointed at the nose of the Sand Village's delegation and called them a group of barbarians. The Sand Village couldn't stand it anymore. We're indeed a defeated country, and we're not as strong as the Wood Leaf Village, but we also have dignity. There's no need to make such a big fuss, right? Tell me, out of the 4 big countries around here, is there anyone that your fire country hasn't attacked before? If this was said during the 5 Kage Summit, it would probably get a lot of support, especially from the third Tsuchikage. But unfortunately, this is the Wood Leaf Village. Koharu, who was sitting on the right, directly refuted Sakura Shinobu's words and said that she was willing to hire them with a high salary, and the Wood Leaf Village needed such talents. Sakura Shinobu also didn't show any weakness. As long as the Wood Leaf Village was willing to let go of the 3 generations of Kozakage and Chiyo, let alone arguing, even if they were asked to carry bricks, they would do it. Mito Monitis seriously criticized Sakura Shinobu's wishful thinking, and suspected that they had taken some kind of vermicelli, which made them fantasize all day long. The whole meeting was so noisy that it was like a market. There was a lot of chatter, and by the evening, there was not a single useful thing to discuss. But everyone was still enjoying it. Naruto also expected this scene. After all, the Wood Leaf Village's demands, so it's understandable that the Sand Village wasn't willing to give it. But it was understandable, it was impossible to give in the Sand Village. In the First World Shinobi World War, World's World Shinobi, World's World Shinobi World. But in reality, it took several years for Konoha to recover from such a great loss. Coupled with the chaos in the village at that time, even the third Naruto village wasn't confirmed, and although he won in the end, he didn't gain much. Even many of the places that were occupied before the war were only returned in name. Flying Ape Nichiren has always been worried about this matter. After all, his sensei Naruto village died in the First Shinobi World War. Now that Wood Leaf Village has won again, and it's rare that he still has some strength left, it's time to settle the old and new accounts together. Naruto Sandaime was now in his prime, and as a ninja hero, he wasn't so indecisive. But then again, Sandaime Naruto wasn't indecisive, but the Sand Village was beginning to close itself off. There was no other reason. Wood Leaf Village's demands were really too much, and even if he didn't take all of the Sand Village's resources, he took most of it. If anyone really signed this agreement, they would really become the sinner of the village. And now that the 3 generations of Kozakage were captured, no one could make a decision. As for the rest of the people, who would dare and who would be willing to take such a big blame? Old C didn't dare, so he didn't come at all. Ma Sha didn't dare, he didn't want to come, but he had no choice. He was the most senior person in the village, so he had to come. His throat was a little numb, and he drank another glass of water. This was the 6th glass he drank this afternoon, but he still felt thirsty. I'll say it again, no. Wood Leaf Village doesn't have any sincerity. This is robbery. Well, this sentence was also the sentence he said the most this afternoon. Everyone knows the fuse of this shinobi world war. We would leave village went to fight the land of rain, but inexplicably got attacked by the sand village, so we were forced to fight and lost too many ninjas. The consumption of materials is also very serious. I think you know in your heart, Wood Leaf Village's demands are actually not excessive. Naruto reiterated his position once again, showing that Wood Leaf Village was the righteous party. So the two sides fell into an inexplicable wrangling again, and they kept arguing. There was no doubt that the first day of negotiations failed. Wood Leaf Village was not willing to retreat, and Sakura Shinobu Village was not willing to accept such a price. What a boring negotiation. Akira Uchiha now understood why Tsunade didn't appear here from the beginning. She had expected this. But thinking about it, with her identity, after the war, she probably had the opportunity to listen. But at that time, Jiraiya, Orochimaru, and Shigeru weren't even 10 years old, so how could they sneak in and see this scene? So the three of them didn't expect this scene. It's estimated that this is the reason why Sandaime Naruto didn't let the four of them sit at the table. He was afraid that they wouldn't be able to control themselves and kill the Sand Village's representative. Who will Wood Leaf Village ask for money? When night fell, the meeting that had lasted for 6 hours finally came to a temporary halt. When they walked out of the venue, it was already dark outside. I don't know when these days will come to an end, Jiraiya said while stretching his body. Who knows, we've been standing here all afternoon, let's go have a meal together first. Orochimaru suggested in a hoarse voice. His suggestion was unanimously agreed by the other three. At the dinner table, several people naturally talked about this afternoon's meeting. Although they didn't see the content of the agreement, they had a general idea. Tonight, Sakura Shinobu's negotiation team won't be able to sleep well. Not only won't they sleep well, they will definitely try to go to the prison tonight to see the 3 generations of Kazekage. After all, with such a big profit, they don't dare to make the decision, they are afraid of being blamed. By the way, don't you feel that the old man's ransom for the 3 generations of Kazekage and Chiyo is a bit familiar? I seem to have heard it somewhere. Jiraiya suddenly asked after drinking a glass of wine. Shigeru laughed. Of course I'm familiar with it, this is the price that Sandaime Naruto-sama sold the bijou. Seeing Akira Uchiha's confused face, Orochimaru quickly explained, when Sandaime Naruto was still alive, he caught 8 of the 9 bijou and then prepared to give them to the villages in the 5 Kage Summit to maintain the peace of the shinobi world. But Sandaime Naruto didn't agree, he proposed to let the villages pay for the bijou. And today's ransom is the price that Sandaime Naruto proposed to sell the bijou. This is recorded in the history books of the past, but now the Ninja Academy has deleted it, so it's normal that your generation doesn't know about it. In fact, Akira Uchiha knew about it, he saw this scene in the manga, but he didn't expect that Sandaime Naruto would choose such a number. It's really bad taste. But thinking about it, it's ironic that the 3 generations of Kazekage didn't pay back the money that Sandaime Kazekage didn't pay back. He doesn't know how the strongest Kazekage feels. Okay, let's go back. We have to continue the next round of the meeting at 8 o'clock. Shigeru stood up. Akira Uchiha sighed. He can imagine what will be said in the next meeting. After all, the essence of human beings is a repeater. Chapter 288. 2 days later, after dozens of hours of wrangling, the fight between the super elders finally came to an end. Sitting on a chair, Flying Ape Nichiren, Sandaime Naruto handed over a prepared document with a smile on his face. Humph. The leader of the Sand Village, Masa, snorted coldly, picked up the document and pen, and then signed his name without any pressure. Why is he so straightforward? Naturally, it's because he saw the 3 generations of Kazekage last night. The 3 generations of Kazekage, who hadn't eaten for many days, grabbed his hand and said eagerly, "Sister, go forward boldly, don't look back." Anyway, that's what it means. The 3 generations of Kazekage couldn't bear it anymore. If this continues, he will be the first Kage to starve to death. Coupled with the torture of the ninjas every day, this kind of life is really unbearable. As for the ransom, let's get out of here first. As long as he's here, with his skills, he won't be afraid that he won't be able to pay them back in the future. Moreover, the cloud and the rock are still fighting. As long as the 3 generations of Kazekage go back to support the Tsuchikage, he can always ask the Tsuchikage to help him. But if this continues, the sand will only suffer more and more losses. So after thinking about it, the 3 generations of Kazekage didn't even bargain and directly asked Masa to sign for him. Since someone endorsed him, Masa's legs were no longer numb, and his waist didn't hurt anymore, so he quickly contacted the Naruto to sign the agreement. With Masa's signature, the war between Konoha and the sand was officially over. At the same time, Uchiha Chen, who was standing in the corner, heard a voice he hadn't heard for a long time. Congratulations to the host for helping the Woodleaf clan to win the Second Ninja War. Akira Uchiha showed a fatherly smile. But at this moment, Masa's voice interrupted his thoughts. Where are our Kazekage and Elder Chiyo? Don't worry, you will see them soon. Flying Ape Nichiren smiled like a monkey, and after calling his apprentice Orochimaru, he whispered to him, Go and bring out the Kazekage and Elder Chiyo from the Woodleaf clan's prison. Yes. Orochimaru didn't look at the elders of the Woodleaf clan and the Sand Village's elders. After responding to Flying Ape Nichiren, he went to the door. Masa refused the invitation offered by Naruto to take a tour of the current Woodleaf. After all, of course, of a country's face, of a country's face. Masa wouldn't agree to Sarutobi's request unless he's crazy. Now, the safest thing to do is to wait for Naruto's apprentice to bring Kazekage and Elder Chiyo to the venue. He finally exchanged the 2 treasures of the Sand Village with a huge amount of resources. Now he doesn't want to stay in Woodleaf clan for a second, he just wants to go back to his village as soon as possible. About 20 minutes passed, and in this time, Naruto leisurely made 2 cups of tea for himself. Woodleaf clan's elders also relaxed a lot, although the compensation won't fall into their pockets. Since Woodleaf clan has vested interests, they can certainly get a lot of benefits from it. Since there are benefits, why do they have to show a sour face, as if Naruto owes them money? After a while, Orochimaru opened the door and came in. Kazekage and Elder Chiyo have been handed over to Woodleaf Ninja waiting outside the venue. Well done. The Hokage picked up his cup and drank the last bit of tea in one gulp. Then Masa, according to our agreement, Woodleaf Ninja unit will leave Woodleaf clan with you, and after watching you leave the border of the Land of Fire, they will leave. Is there anything else you want to say? Humph, let's go. I hope Naruto-sama won't burst because of the ransom and resources. After leaving these words, Masa left the venue with a gloomy face and joined the so-called Woodleaf escort unit. Okay, let's all go. Naruto clapped his hands happily and said to the ninjas present and the Umbu outside the window. Orochimaru, who was most concerned about the experiment, first nodded to Naruto and took the lead to walk out of the center of the venue, followed by Akira Uchiha and Woodleaf White Fang and Jiraiya on the other side. The Hokage and the elders sat in their seats and didn't move. Now that the negotiations with the outsiders are over, the next thing to face is the internal strife and the distribution of benefits. It can be imagined that this is going to be a protracted battle. At this time, it's not suitable for low-level ninjas, like Akira Uchiha, to listen. Akira Uchiha, who walked out of the venue, felt the sunlight shining on him, then reached out and covered his eyes. As far as the eye could see, everyone was grinning from ear to ear, looking very pleased with themselves. But he couldn't help but sigh. Before, he didn't understand why after the Second Shinobi World War, it only took a few years for the Third Shinobi World War to begin. Now, he finally understood. There's no other reason, the victors demanded too much, almost forcing the defeated to death. Sand Village seems to be able to transfer a wave of losses to the Rock Village, but in fact, the Rock Village was also defeated by Woodleaf. Is their face whiter than others? That's impossible. In the end, the Sand Village can only desperately find that with the current unequal treaty, they can't pay back at all, and they will only owe more and more. But no one has realized this yet, or maybe Sandaime Naruto has this plan in mind, trying to restrict the development of the Sand Village economically. Danzo even directly declared, even if we have to search the pockets of the Sand Village, we will find the money. But Akira Uchiha understood that the document drafted by Woodleaf this time will lay the groundwork for the war in a few years. When the village imposed such conditions on the Sand Village, It will only lead to the 3 generations of Kozakage not to abide by the treaty, or to start a war. Just like the First World War in his previous life, the excessive exploitation of Germany by the Allies has already set the groundwork for the Second World War. Similarly, this is just a copy of the Versailles Treaty. So how long can this treaty last? In the manga, the peace was maintained for 3 or 4 years before the Third Shinobi World War broke out again. Akira Uchiha's instigation made the Second World War end early, but it's estimated that the time one is just a drop in the bucket. This is a trend that can't be changed by people's will, unless Akira Uchiha can persuade Sandaime Naruto to ask for less, or destroy the Sand Village now. But is this possible? Thinking of this, Akira Uchiha, who was originally happy because of the points, suddenly lost interest. Speaking of which, the escort team this time is all from Shen's family. Looking at the group of ninjas from the Sand Village, Hatsuki Shigeru casually said such a thing. However, his political sense is not sharp enough, so he didn't have any hidden meaning, he was just casually chatting. Akira Uchiha nodded, but he sighed in his heart, he doesn't know how many of these people will come back alive. By the way, senpai, how did yesterday's blind date go? Don't mention it. Shigeru curled his lips. It's like a fan meeting, it's so noisy. Akira Uchiha couldn't help but laugh. After all, it's the famous Woodleaf White Fong's blind date, you must have a lot of little fangirls, and senpai is so handsome. I'm sure they will be picky. Hey, Shigeru-sama, why are you blushing? Are you inexperienced? By the way, how long have you been single? Shigeru curled his lips and said, don't you know that it's impolite to ask people's age like this? Chapter 289. After parting ways with the White Fang, Akira Uchiha walked back to his house alone. Looking at Shigeru's red face, it seemed like he was ready to throw himself into the matchmaking army. Sometimes, Akira Uchiha really did not understand why someone as handsome and strong as Shigeru could not find a girlfriend when he was young. In the end, he had to rely on matchmaking to survive. However, on second thought, Shigeru did not have to worry about being picky, so he had to be careful. Otherwise, he would not have a place to cry in the future. After all, there were plenty of people who were beautiful when they were young, but grew ugly when they grew up. Let's not talk about anything else. Let's talk about the bearded ape Asuma. What, the third Naruto's wife, Lake Bawako, was not pregnant? But Shinku Kurenai's wife was pregnant. When Akira Uchiha passed by the commercial street, he saw the couple buying baby products. It was a sweet scene. Moreover, he curiously looked at her belly. Perhaps it was because her clothes were loose, but it did not look like she was 2 months pregnant. However, after careful calculation, Shinku Kurenai would probably be born in May or June next year. What a pity, such a beautiful flower was going to be stuck in cow dung. If only Shursui was born earlier. Asterisk cough, asterisk cough, asterisk cough, asterisk cough, asterisk. In short, this also served as a wake-up call for Uchiha-chen. With the end of the war, a huge baby boom is about to break out. After returning home, Akira Uchiha did not close the door. Instead, he found a chair and sat down. On the window, a crow was watering the plants with a small watering can in its mouth. When it was eating watermelon in the summer, it spat out some watermelon seeds in the flower pot in the yard. As a result, it accidentally found that the seeds had grown. It was so happy that it was excited for a long time. Every day, it would water and fertilize the plants. As for where the fertilizer came from, there was a lot of bird feces. It was green and did not pollute. It could fill your stomach in large quantities. Anyway, Akira Uchiha was afraid. Speaking of which, this crow was the one he adopted in front of Mito's grave 2 years ago. Later on, he went to the battlefield and asked Shina Kushina to take care of it. But the problem was that the little fox couldn't even keep itself alive, let alone a pet with a weird personality. Previously, Akira Uchiha remembered clearly the words of a certain someone who had one hand on the wall and the other on his waist, saying smugly, "Little Black, I promise I'll feed it until it's dark and fat." But after less than a week, she was so hungry that she couldn't find the crow on the south wall. She had no choice but to go out and look for food. After all, eating potato chips every day was not a solution. Speaking of which, Little Black's heart was bitter. Now, whenever he smelled Shina Kushina's scent, he would take a detour. After looking at it for a while, Akira Uchiha felt a little bored. He shifted his gaze back to the table and reached out to pick up a scroll. At this moment, Little Black, who had been watering the plants painstakingly, suddenly stood up and looked towards the direction of the door. It didn't seem to be as lazy as before. Akira Uchiha smiled and did not put down the scroll. After a while, Fugaku's figure appeared outside the door. Oh, the one who came was actually the young patriarch. He thought that Uchiha Mountain would personally come to visit. It seemed that his face was not big enough to make the young patriarch come. Young patriarch, long time no see. Why do you suddenly have so much time to come and see me? Chen said not to call me young patriarch. Just call me Fugaku. Why are we still unfamiliar after not seeing each other for 2 years? If you really want to think about it, you are a jonin, and I am just a special jonin. I still have to call you senior. Why must I call you senior? Akira Uchiha couldn't help but laugh. Since he had already said it like this, he couldn't insist. He could only say, since young patriarch has said so, and you are a few years older than me, I will call you Big Brother Fugaku. Hey, come in quickly. I will make you a cup of tea. Hearing this, Fugaku walked in from the entrance. He looked around and sighed. I already told you to live with me. You didn't listen and insisted on squeezing in such a small place. You are the hero of our clan. If I didn't know, I would have thought that my father was deliberately mistreating you. Akira Uchiha smiled and didn't say anything. He brewed 2 cups of tea, gave one to Fugaku, and left one for himself. Then, he slowly talked about the past between the two of them. Speaking of which, Fugaku was much more mature than 2 years ago. Thinking about it, the battle in the famous mansion had made him grow a lot. He was no longer the young man who didn't know anything and only wanted to go to the battlefield. But patience was limited. He changed the topic and finally talked about the mission. Chen, to be honest, you are now the #1 person in our clan's younger generation. This time, when you get the escort mission, most of the ninjas in the clan hope that you can go with them. Let them see the glory of Wood Leaf Thunderbolt. Akira Uchiha knew that the show was about to start. Wasn't it just a show? Who was afraid of who? He stood up with a trace of yearning and a trace of desire on his face. But then, he shook his head and revealed a difficult expression. What's wrong? Did something happen? Fugaku fell for the trap. Brother Fugaku, I am also from the Uchiha clan. Of course, I want to go. But, you should know that Mikoto was injured on the battlefield and is still hospitalized recently. Has she been transferred to the clan? We also have many outstanding medical ninjas. No, they can't treat her. Even the Wood Leaf Hospital can't treat her. Then what should we do? You also know that I am considered Tsunade-sama's half-disciple, but our relationship with the Senju clan. So, I begged her for a long time before she reluctantly agreed to help. Look, the surgery is tomorrow, and I can't leave for the time being. This? Fugaku was speechless. After all, the other party's reason was impeccable. He could only say, how did this happen at the same time? Also, Akira Uchiha kept mentioning Mikoto. Why couldn't he remember who Mikoto was? In fact, it was not strange. The last time they met, Mikoto was only a 10-year-old girl. Even if she was a national beauty, her face was still young. Who could remember who she was? Fugaku was very straightforward. Women were like clothes, and people were like hands and feet. But he couldn't say it out loud. Akira Uchiha was so nervous about Mikoto. What if he replied, women are like clothes for winter, and people are like hands and feet of Hachibi? Wouldn't the situation be very awkward? Brother Fugaku, it's not that I don't want to go, but I can't leave this time. But thinking about it, it's just escorting the sand village out of the fire country. There won't be any danger. Next time, if there's a dangerous operation, you must call me. Akira Uchiha tapped the teacup with his thumb and said sincerely. After a moment of silence, Fugaku finally made up his mind. But this time, it will involve a battle. He suddenly stopped talking. There was only an inexplicable tapping sound in the air. This was naturally Akira Uchiha's genjutsu. He couldn't control people's thoughts like Koto Amatsukami, but it was easy to create a 2-second fake memory with genjutsu. When he went back, Fugaku would only tell his father, but he didn't say anything. As for whether Uchiha Mountain could detect the traces of genjutsu, of course, it was impossible. Unless he checked his son's memory. But the problem was that only the Yamanaka clan could do this. He didn't need to check Fugaku's memory for such a small matter, right? So this matter could only be left unsettled. Even if something went wrong with the ambush, it couldn't be blamed on Akira Uchiha. You can only blame yourself for not saying it clearly. Chapter 290. After Fugaku went back, Akira Uchiha directly closed the door and sat back on the chair. This time, he used genjutsu and made so many excuses. To put it bluntly, it was because he didn't want to offend the other party. Taizu said it well, make fewer enemies and more friends. Akira Uchiha's strength hasn't reached the point where he can ignore everything. Naturally, he has to pay more attention in this regard instead of making enemies everywhere. But not making enemies doesn't mean that he should follow him foolishly. Knowing that it's a trap, if he still jumps in, isn't that courting death? Think about it, even Hyuga Kagami can see it, so how can Sandaime Naruto not see it? If Sandaime Naruto knows, how can his good friend Danzo not know? With Danzo's character, if he really leaked the information and deliberately tricked Uchiha, then wouldn't he be courting death if he followed? Don't think that the Sand Hidden Village was defeated, and the 3 generations of Kazekage and Chiyo who have been locked up for a long time don't have much fighting power. After all, it's one of the 5 major countries. It's not something that a single family can compete with. If there is a problem in the end, Akira Uchiha may have no problem protecting himself, but can he just abandon his people like this? If he really did that, his hard-earned reputation will be ruined, and he will be laughed at by other ninjas. Would Leaf, Reiko, who usually pretends to be a great hero, but in fact, didn't he abandon his own people? Bah! Think about it, wasn't Shigeru crushed by such public opinion? However, he can't tell Fugaku the truth, and he has to keep a low profile. If Akira Uchiha wants to refuse, he has to find a real irrefutable reason, right? Otherwise, he will directly fall out with him. Akira Uchiha doesn't want to fall out with him, so after thinking about it, he can only use Mikoto's injury as an excuse. If the losses were to be huge in the future, even if there were people who would complain, they couldn't blame him. After all, Fugaku didn't tell him about the family's plan. In the end, it was still because of the lack of strength. Akira Uchiha sighed, and then remembered the system prompt that helped Wood Leaf complete the second Shinobi World War quest. It seemed like he hadn't opened that system for a long time. To be honest, it wasn't that he didn't want to think about it, but the speed of earning points was too slow, and the points needed to level up were too many. In the past few years, as his strength has further expanded, killing Chunin no longer gives him any points, and he can only rely on Jonin to barely survive. However, this level of equipment wasn't something that could be found on the streets. It wasn't something that could be obtained just because you wanted to. However, I just completed such a big mission, so I should get a lot of points. Thinking of this, Akira Uchiha turned on his holographic projection and saw that the system had become like this. Host Akira Uchiha Land of Fire Age. 12 Comprehensive Strength Index. Existence of bugs in Elite Jonin Chakra Level 14. 34065000000. Taijutsu Level 13. 503,00000. Shuriken Level 12. 601,500,000. Hand Seals Level 13. 403,00000. Ninjutsu Level 12. 501,500,000. Genjutsu Level 14. 611,500,000. Wind Attribute Level 13. 603,000. Fire Attribute Level 13. 403,000. Thunder attribute level 14, 5895000000, water. Attribute level 12, 01500000, earth attribute level 12, 01500000, ceiling level 10, 030000, yang attribute level 11, 060000, in attribute level 13, 03000000, attribute fusion, to be opened, Sharingan, 3 Tomo, remaining ninja points. 14124110. Level 11 to 13 is the Jonin level, and level 14 to 16 is the Kage level. But as far as Chen is concerned, level 13 corresponds to elite Jonin, and level 14, although there is a Kage in it, is at most a quasi-Kage. Among these 14 attributes, the only ones that can reach quasi-Kage are Chakra, Genjutsu, and Thunder, which are the 3 attributes that he relies on the most. Taijutsu, which used to be far ahead, is now only at elite Jonin level. This is also the reason why he is slower than Shigeru and Orochimaru in battle. The other attributes such as wind, fire, and hand seals are also at elite Jonin level. As for the In attribute, it was due to the sudden increase in eye power due to the activation of the 3 Tomo, thus reaching the level of an elite Jonin. This is caused by the blood of the Uchiha clan. In addition, Shuriken, water, and earth are only at ordinary Jonin level. After all, the number of times they are used in battle can be counted on one hand. The most embarrassing is the Yang attribute and Fuinjutsu. One is at Tokubetsu Jonin level, and the other is only at Chunin level. For example, Fuinjutsu, one is that he has no talent, and the other is that he can't use it for the time being. After all, he doesn't have enough points to add to other attributes. But it doesn't matter, even if there are no more points after World War II, the next few years will be the golden period of physical development. Even if he doesn't add points, his strength will skyrocket, such as chakra and taijutsu. However, the points were still there, so why not use them? After all, this is a world where cheats are rampant. Although Akira Uchiha is an elite Jonin and a quasi-Kage, it sounds very powerful, but it is far worse. Itachi was a Mangekyo at 13 years old. Naruto and Sasuke saved the ninja world at 16 years old and became Rikudo-level ninjas. Even novels don't dare to write like this. It can only be said that reality is always more exaggerated than fantasy. Back to the topic, for the victory of this ninja world war, the system rewarded him with 2 million points. Since he has money, Akira Uchiha can also upgrade his attributes a little. Congratulations, host. Taijutsu has increased to level 14. Congratulations, host. Wind attribute has increased to level 14. Congratulations, host. Fire attribute has increased to level 14. After a while, the system information changed. Host Akira Uchiha Fire Country Age. 12 Comprehensive Strength Index. In the Quasi-Kage, you are the king of trash, Chakra level 14, 34065000000, Taijutsu level 14, 05000000, Shuriken level 12, 601500000, Hand Seals level 13, 403000000, Ninjutsu level 13, 03000000, Illusion level 14, 611500000, Wind attribute level 14, 05000000, Fire attribute level 14, 05000000, Thunder attribute level 14, 5895000000, Water attribute level 13, 03000000, Earth attribute level 13, 03000000, Ceiling level 10, 030000, Yang attribute level 12, 01500000, In attribute level 13, 03000000, Attribute fusion, to be activated, Sharingan, 3 Tomo, remaining ninja points. 100. Akira Uchiha wanted to continue adding seals, but he heard the system reply. Ninja points not enough. Ninja points not enough. That's 1 million points, it's so painful. I wanted to activate attribute fusion and play with magnet release, but the points are gone just like that? However, feeling the increase of his strength, Akira Uchiha was still happy and painful. Next time when Orochimaru and Shigeru fight, I won't be beaten so easily, right? Maybe I can trick them. Akira Uchiha showed a sinister smile. P.S. The system will write less in the future. After all, it's just to get through the awkward novice period. The protagonist died at such a young age. His talent can be imagined. Now that his talent has increased, he can survive in this world without the system. Of course, the key will come out. After all, the attribute fusion function still depends on Xiao Tian, but when the normal points don't affect the fighting style, even Madame Nyo won't mention it. This is just an extra chapter to explain to the system. It's less than 200 words, so this paragraph is free. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy 2019. Chapter 291. The next morning at 6 o'clock, Akira Uchiha woke up. Originally, he wanted to continue sleeping for a while, but for some reason, he was not sleepy anymore. He looked up at the window and found that there was a layer of frost on it. It was already November, and the weather was starting to get colder. Naturally, the frost was nothing to be surprised about. However, the temperature yesterday was close to 20 degrees, and today it suddenly dropped to 10 degrees. The temperature difference in wood leaf was sometimes really annoying. In the words of the rope tree, this weather is sick, and it needs to be cured. Perhaps because the temperature did not drop steadily, there was still a lot of green in the village. Of course, there were also dead leaves, but among the green and brown on the side of the road, people would always notice the green first. Perhaps it was because green always made people feel better, such as green leaves, green grass, green hats. Why is there a strange thing mixed in? So embarrassing. In short, since he could not sleep, Akira Uchiha did not want to waste any more time. He got up and prepared to run a few laps around the village to get used to his new body. On the way back, he could also buy some breakfast for Mikoto and Shina Kushina. After washing up, he stopped after taking 2 steps and looked at Crow, who was sleeping on the bookshelf. At this moment, Little Black was curled up in the cloak, sleeping soundly like a hen incubating eggs. This cloak was made by Shina Kushina. It had a hood with a crooked crow as decoration. Little Black, do you want to go out for a walk? Standing by the door, Akira Uchiha asked. There was no movement under the cloak. Little Black, I'll take you out to exercise, he said again. He did not believe that this crow, with its keen hearing, could not hear him. This time, Xiao Hei moved. He poked his head out of the fur cloak and squinted his eyes at Uchiha-chen with a look of disdain. He seemed to be saying, I'm a crow, not a dog. Why would I walk? After 5 seconds, it shrank its head and went back to sleep. Akira Uchiha sighed and walked out of the door alone toward the street. The streets were a little deserted, but there were already quite a few peddlers scattered about. Therefore, there was no such thing as a stable life. Ordinary people did not have to be like ninjas, but they still had to deal with daily necessities. Their lives were not easy. With this realization in mind, Akira Uchiha walked around the street to warm up. Then, he started running around the village. However, when he was halfway through his run, he ran into Uncle Dai's way. Oh, it's Shen. You're running too? Yeah, I have nothing to do these past few days. I feel like my body is going to rust. Uncle Dai was still wearing that beautiful, coquettish green tight suit. Although he had become rich in the past 2 years, he had no intention of changing it. It was undoubtedly true to the day's Tuesdays. As expected, he started promoting his products. Shen, it's not that I want to criticize you, but you won't be able to practice taijutsu in this. How about I give you a set of tight clothes? Akira Uchiha quickly shook his head. Stop joking. No matter how good-looking he was, he would not be able to hold himself in this outfit. Therefore, it was better not to try it without thick eyebrows and big eyes. After that, the two of them chatted for a while more before parting ways. Earlier, Dai had asked Akira Uchiha to go to the shop to look at the accounts for the past 2 years. Actually, it did not matter. After all, he was not lacking in money. In the end, he just wanted to help Kai Huang's father. After all, he was a ninja worthy of respect. By the way, Dai is now married. This made Akira Uchiha's heart calm down. Previously, he was slightly worried that Dai would be like the heroes of Liangshan who did not get close to women and only focused on training his strength. What would happen then? Now, it seemed that Uncle Dai had at most done some PY business with Nishimura-sensei. However, his sexual orientation was still okay. After 8 o'clock, Akira Uchiha stopped cultivating. He went back to take a shower and went to the commercial street to buy breakfast before heading to Woodleaf Hospital. There was a foldable chair in front of Mikoto's bed for the person accompanying her to rest. Although it looked small, it could be used to sleep. Previously, Akira Uchiha slept there. However, after signing the agreement, Shinakushina would sleep there at night. When Akira Uchiha entered the ward with breakfast, the two girls were already awake. They were lying on the bed, playing chess. However, looking at the way Little Fox was scratching her head, it was obvious that she was about to lose. Shan is here to deliver breakfast. Stop. Stop. This game doesn't count. Shinakushina turned on her shameless mode and jumped to Akira Uchiha's side to take the breakfast. Mikoto didn't mind, she just smiled and put away the chessboard. Akira Uchiha accompanied her and chatted for a while before leaving at 10 o'clock. When he reached the familiar building, he quickly knocked on the door a few times. The door is not locked. Come in, little brat. This time, Tsunade's reply was quick. Akira Uchiha turned the doorknob and found that it was indeed not locked. That's right. Which little thief would dare to come here and stretch his hand? Did he have a death wish? Tsunade's fierce reputation aside, even if they wanted to steal money, it would be faster to win her in the casino. Tsunade's house was always filled with all the things that a woman living alone should have. For example, the smelly lunchbox, the underwear thrown on the sofa in the living room, the dusty floor that was not taken care of carefully. In any case, all the weird smells were mixed together. Akira Uchiha, who had just walked in, was almost thrown out by the smell. Is this place even habitable? Can't you be more careful? After thinking for a few seconds, he decisively gave up on taking off his shoes. After all, the floor might not be as clean as the soles of his shoes. After opening all the windows in the living room, Akira Uchiha finally felt that the smell in the air had dissipated a little. At that moment, Tsunade, who was wearing her pajamas, walked down the stairs step by step. As expected of a tomboy, Tsunade did not mind that she was exposed in her pajamas. After all, in her mind, no matter how mature she was still a brat. Tsunade casually moved the underwear she threw on the sofa to the side. She sat down on the sofa and yawned. Why are you looking for me at this hour? Do you have time? The latter sentence was obviously a little mocking. After all, the surgery was prepared 2 days ago. Akira Uchiha only came to find her today. What happened to the urgent matter? Looking at Tsunade's half-smile, he could only smile awkwardly. It seemed that even if his teacher did not go out, she still knew what was going on in the village. For example, the movements of the Uchiha clan. But who cares? Although Tsunade was quite good at this, it did not mean that she was interested. Otherwise, she would not have left the village for so many years without coming back. Therefore, after chatting for a while, she, who was addicted to gambling, began to play with Akira Uchiha again. After Akira Uchiha left last time, he left this deck of cards at Tsunade's house. When he saw this deck of cards again today, he realized that the brand new cards were a little old. It seemed that she had been playing games with his 2p and 3p recently. I won't lose today. Tsunade was full of confidence, as if victory was in her hands. Akira Uchiha did not say anything. Instead, he looked at her with a half-smile. Chapter 292. As a matter of fact, Tsunade, who was a purebred African, was extremely unlucky. Uchiha Chen's luck wasn't that good, but it wasn't to the point where he would lose every bet he made. How many sins did he commit in his previous life to be reduced to such a state in this life? In short, in half an hour, Tsunade went from being happy at the beginning to being angry and exasperated in the middle, to now looking indifferent. This kind of ups and downs could only be seen in gamblers. Even if the two of them did not have any prizes. Kid, do you know the rules? Is this the attitude of begging for help? Tsunade threw the cards on the table. You have to make me feel better first before I can treat the illness. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that Mikoto won't leave any sequelae. Akira Uchiha. Forget it, I'm not playing anymore. Are the surgical supplies in the hospital ready? Ready, we're just waiting for you. Very good, then there's only one last thing left. Tsunade said and raised her slender right hand to make a heart. At least in Akira Uchiha's eyes, so he thought for 2 seconds before saying, Teacher, there's no need to make a heart. I understand what you mean, you're wishing Mikoto a speedy recovery. Wish you good luck, how can you compare hearts? I'm talking about money, medical expenses. Akira Uchiha. I've already resigned from the position of the medical director. Now that I'm a private patient, of course I have to pay for the medical expenses. Even if there's no medical expenses, shouldn't there be an errand fee? Then how much do you want? Akira Uchiha asked weakly. Not much, just 300,000 taels. It wasn't much, an A-rank mission only cost this much. In short, I'm a little short on money recently. After 2 days, I'll pay you back with double. As for the extra money, I'll treat it as capital investment. Tsunade said calmly. Akira Uchiha. You're talking as if I care about your technology. In short, the money was in his hands, and the matter was discussed. Tsunade picked up the cold tea and took a sip, meaning that if there was nothing else, he could get lost. Akira Uchiha was silent for a moment, then said again, Tsunade, sensei, I have something to ask you. Tsunade nodded, indicating him to continue. There's something wrong with Patriarch Hyuga's eyes. Ji asked me to let you take a look. Tsunade didn't speak. She just held a cup and looked at Uchiha-chan until he was a little scared. Then, she asked an irrelevant thing, Hyuga Himeji, right? I remember that Elder Koharu was the one who transferred him to your team? Yes. What's the matter? That woman sure has a good plan. Tsunade muttered, and then said seriously, Chen, I won't hide it from you. Hyuga Sky's eyes are a bit tricky. When Sandame asked me before, I said the same thing. Think about it. Not to mention the friendship between Senju and Hyuga, even if other ninjas are injured for the sake of the village, I won't stand by and watch. Tsunade stood up and continued, there are several kinds of eye injuries. If it's an ordinary injury, any medical ninja can cure it, but it involves a forbidden technique, and the original Byakugan has been completely damaged. What if you get a new pair of eyes? Although I don't know much about the forbidden technique, I know it's related to dojitsu. This kind of injury, the nerve tissue around the Byakugan has been completely damaged, and it's not something that can be solved by just getting a new pair of eyes. Even I can only say that the surgery is very risky, and there's a possibility of complete blindness. Is that so? Akira Uchiha sighed. He really didn't know how to explain it to Ji Lu. In short, go back and explain the risks to your teammates, let them make their own decision, and come to me when they think about it. I know. Speaking of which, your Uchiha clan seems to have a similar forbidden technique. Tsunade suddenly remembered something. When I was a child, I remember hearing my grandfather say that there is a technique that can eliminate the damage suffered by the user, just like a dream. I don't know if it's true or not. Tsunade was still talking, but Akira Uchiha's pupils suddenly shrank. Isn't that Izanagi? Speaking of Izanagi, he carefully looked through the scroll left by Kuroto. After all, it's a life-saving forbidden technique, and he must learn it. Unfortunately, after searching for a long time, he didn't find anything. Later, he asked around and found out that there is something similar to the Book of Seals in the Uchiha clan, and the ninjutsu recorded in it is deliberately preserved. It should be in Patriarch Uchiha's house. In fact, not only Izanagi, but also Izanami, there are many high-level fire release techniques, but Akira Uchiha hasn't seen many of them, such as the powerful fire release used by Madara. It seems that I have to find time to go to the Patriarch's house. Even if I have to steal it, I must steal it. Hey, are you listening to me? Tsunade knocked on the table discontentedly. When she was talking, she looked up and found that Akira Uchiha was distracted. Oh, sorry. I hate people like you who don't pay attention to others, so rude. Akira Uchiha, Tsunade snorted, then half lying on the sofa, she didn't care that her chest was exposed. To be honest, I don't like to treat people like them, they are not familiar with me, but they have connections, it's not good to ask for money, there is no profit. I like to treat acquaintances, such as you, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru, it's easy to extort money. It's the first time Akira Uchiha heard someone talk about killing acquaintances so confidently, it's really shameless. Tsunade paused and continued, there is another kind, those who are not familiar with you, such as your patriarch Uchiha. So, if he has any injuries that can't be cured, you must recommend him to come to me, anyway, he is rich, I will give him a discount. Tsunade became more and more excited, as if she found a business opportunity. Don't look at me asking for your money, in fact, this is just a symbolic meaning. If you give me money, it shows that I am impartial. Similarly, if your patriarch comes to treat me, he will naturally be embarrassed to not give you money because of your favor, then we will split it 30-70. The more Akira Uchiha listened, the more he felt that something was wrong. Wasn't this, the squire's money will be returned, and the commoner's money will be split 30-70? No, it should be Uchiha Yamanaka who is a squire. So this sentence should be changed to, the squire's money will be split 30-70. However, since it was a 30-70 split, shouldn't Tsunade return his 300,000 taels? So, no matter how he looked at it, he was the one who was at a disadvantage. Chapter 293. While Tsunade was still thinking about how to make money, in the forest of the Land of Fire, the Uchiha shinobi had been escorting the Sand Village's messenger for a day. Escorting is a nice way to put it, but in essence, it's surveillance, to prevent Sakura Shinobu from causing damage in the Land of Fire. Until now, the 3 generations of Kazekage and Chiyo were still being carried by 2 Uchiha shinobi. From this point alone, they were indeed following the orders of Sandaime Naruto. Before leaving the border of the Land of Fire, the Kazekage and Chiyo can't be handed over to them. Because they are all shinobi, and because they have been rushing all the time, in about 2 hours, they will reach the border of the Land of Fire. At this time, the most tightly protected one is Uchiha Fugaku, with him as the center, all the Uchiha shinobi are moving at his speed, which is also the reason why the speed is slow. Looking at the protected Fugaku, Masa showed disdain. If it weren't for the 3 generations of Kazekage and Chiyo, he would have already ordered them to leave the other side far behind. It seems that the Uchiha clan not only produces geniuses, but also occasionally produces trash. However, on the surface, Masa didn't do anything out of line, since he has paid a lot of benefits, there is no need to look for trouble at this time. Of course, the most important thing is that in his heart, he and Naruto are regarded as ninjas of the same level, so if he gets angry with these escorting shinobi, wouldn't it lower his own level? He won't do such a thing. In this way, the 2 teams, one with ulterior motives and the other with arrogance, were peaceful along the way. Very quickly, 2 hours had passed just like that. One more step and they would be in the country of River. Now, can you return our 3 generations of Kazekage and Elder Chiyo to us? Masa's tone was cold, as if the ninjas in front of him were just insignificant weeds. But the Uchiha clan is famous for their arrogance. They look down on the ninjas of the village, not to mention the ninjas of the defeated country. Therefore, some Uchiha ninjas immediately jumped out to express their dissatisfaction and were about to open their mouths to ridicule, but the next moment, they were stopped by Uchiha Fugaku. Give them the hostages. After stopping the rash Uchiha ninja, Uchiha Fugaku chuckled and said to the ninja beside him, Yes. Since it was the order of their young patriarch, Uchiha's ninja had no reason to disobey. Masa exclaimed softly. His impression of the young patriarch, who was evaluated as trash by him, improved a bit. At the same time, He waved his hand to let his subordinates take care of the unconscious Chiyo and the 3 generations of Kazekage. Then, ninja of wood leaf, we will take our leave. After confirming the safety of the Kazekage and Chiyo, Masa began to prepare to evacuate in the direction of the Wind Country. He needs to bring the Kazekage back to the village as soon as possible. Now the Sand village has no leader and is in a mess. Not only does he need someone to take charge of the situation, but he also needs someone to take the blame. It just so happens that the Kazekage and Chiyo have their own uses. But after walking for a few hundred meters, he keenly felt that the surrounding environment was a bit abnormal, and the ground seemed to be fluctuating with chakra. Wood Leaf's group of grandsons, are they going to use underhanded methods? Needless to say, a Kage-level ninja's reaction speed was very fast. In the next second, his hand seals were already completed. Brush, brush, brush. 3 earth walls completely surrounded Sakura Shinobu, and at the same time, the ground bulged upward, completely isolating them. Sure enough, the originally flat ground became like mud, and then countless explosive tags made a tearing sound, covering the ground. Wood Leaf is really going to use underhanded methods. Standing in the crowd, Uchiha Fugaku looked at the explosion in front of him, and his heart burned with the joy of revenge. Then he waved his hand and said, "Do it." As his voice fell, the 6 paths condensed into the Dragon Fire Jutsu, under the blessing of the Wind Release, hit the Sand Ninja in the smoke. In the face of this fire jutsu, the earth walls naturally can't stop it, but the people who were brought by Masa are naturally elites. One of Sakura Shinobu's puppets threw out a few special steel wires in an instant. These special steel wires flashed a cold light, and quickly passed through the fire jutsu. The specially refined steel wires can't be burned by simple flames, but they can't do anything else. Now it's up to him. Fire Release. Flame Bullet Jutsu. An equally huge fire jutsu was generated by a large number of chakra, and divided into 6 along the steel wires, and instantly entangled the Dragon Fire Jutsu. The power of the Flame Bullet Jutsu is certainly not as fierce as the Dragon Fire Jutsu, but the ninjutsu that follows the special steel wires must have its own uniqueness. Just like now, although the Dragon Fire Jutsu can't stop it, when the 2 ninjutsu are mixed together, it began to slowly mix together. The powerful mixed ninjutsu of the Uchiha clan was guided by the special steel wires, and it flowed along the steel wires that have been set in other directions. Masa-sama, do you want to fire a signal flare? 4 Sakura Shinobu's puppets protected Masa, the 3 generations of Kazekage, and Chiyo in the center of the earth, and one of them asked. No hurry. Masa waved his hand. Naturally, he brought more than 4 subordinates for this mission, but as a defeated country, and rushing to Wood Leaf, to be honest, it's useless to bring any number of Sakura Shinobu's puppets. In addition, Sandaime Naruto's reputation is usually good, and they are going to deliver money, so they should be safe. So when Masa entered the Land of Fire, he brought 4 Sakura Shinobu's puppets, and the others were stationed in the land of Kawanoku. Therefore, he didn't expect Konoha's ninja to play this game. But when he calmed down, Masa found that things were a bit strange. Was this really an order from Sandaime Naruto? Or was it just a simple action by Uchiha Shinobu? The meaning of these two are naturally different. If it's the former, Masa didn't think about it and immediately left with the 4 people. But if it's the latter, do they really think I'm a clay figurine without any anger? Masa couldn't make a decision for a while, but after thinking about it carefully, with Sandaime Naruto's tolerance, he wouldn't do such a sneaky and unscrupulous thing, and he wouldn't send Uchiha Shinobu, but directly send his apprentices. It seems that it can only be the Uchiha's actions. Before, he was wondering why the other party brought so many ninjas. He thought it was to protect the safety of the young clan leader, but now it seems that it was not a temporary idea, but a long-time plan. No wonder they had to cross the border to attack, so if something went wrong, he wouldn't have to take any responsibility. Understanding this, Masa decisively ordered, "You 4 take Chiyo and Kazekage-sama to meet with the troops. I'll stop them here. After we meet, let them come to support. I want to eat this group of Wood Leaf Shinobu." This. Sama, we just signed the agreement. Will there be any problems? No. This is not an order from Sandaime Naruto, and I will lure them to the land of Kawanoku, as long as they are not in the land of fire. Go. Yes. Since their leader, Masha, had made such a decision, the subordinates had no choice but to follow his orders. What about the young clan leader? Seeing that several Sakura shinobu were ready to run, a group of Uchiha shinobu also surrounded Uchiha Fugaku. Although many powerful ninjas were brought this time, as the young clan leader, the command was naturally in his hands. It seems that Masa is ready to block us alone to buy time for his subordinates. In that case, Fugaku hesitated and continued, "Everyone, go and kill Masa." Before in the daimyo house, his childhood companion died tragically in the hands of Sakura shinobu, and the two tomo were opened at that time. So Fugaku hated Sakura shinobu very much. If he let them go without killing a single person, he would be unwilling. What's more, among the ninjas who came this time, in addition to a quasi-kage level, there were 4 elite jonin, and the rest were only jonin and special jonin. If this configuration is well coordinated, it is easy to kill Masa, who is almost 60 years old. This is also a comfort for the dead people. Young clan leader, when we came, the clan leader said that we can only attack in the land of fire, and we are not allowed to cross the border to kill. One of the elite jonin said. But father also said that we should make decisions according to the situation here. Now there is only Masa alone, we have so many ninjas, are you afraid? But, if there is a problem, I will be responsible. At most, we will not pursue further. Yes. Since no one has any objections. Fugaku stood up and began to order. Everyone, after this, we will go back to the village. Chapter 294. Facing the attack of more than a dozen Uchiha ninjas, Masha didn't panic at all. Instead, he gave them the middle finger and turned away. Just a moment ago, he was still so unyielding and had the attitude of wanting to pick a fight, and now he ran away just like that? It seems that I'm not the only one who understands the essence of fighting and retreating. Seeing this situation, Uchiha Fugaku, who was a little worried, sneered and urged the other ninjas to catch up. After running for a few hundred meters, Masha turned his head and blocked the attacks of the 2 ninjas behind him. After opening a gap, he quickly rushed towards Uchiha Fugaku. For a time, countless kunai shot towards him like a net. Wind release. Great weasel sickle. A strong wind blew out mixed with wind blades, blocking the incoming kunai and directly shattering dozens of kunai in the front row. However, there were too many kunais. As the number of wind blades decreased, the kunais behind him were still as aggressive as ever. Seeing this situation, Masha could only open up a distance. Let's see how long you can last. Fugaku snorted. Masha didn't answer. Instead, he bit his finger and made another hand sign, summoning technique. As the smoke dissipated, a huge iron fan appeared in front of him. There are always some famous weapons in the ninja world, such as the 7 swords of the mist, and the telescopic staff of Sandaime Naruto. And Mashle was famous for this big fan. Holding the fan, his momentum suddenly rose, and then with a dash, his figure flashed, and he appeared above the head of a Uchiha ninja, and the big fan slammed down like an iron ruler. Bang! The ninja raised his kunai, but at the moment of contact, it was broken like rotten wood. Under the impact of the iron fan, he was directly sent flying, and no one knew whether he was dead or alive. In the next second, Masha opened the fan as if he had eyes on his back, blocking the fireball behind him. Then, he suddenly jumped up from the ground. At the moment he jumped, 4 earth pillars rose up and stabbed into the air like spears. Masha somersaulted in the air and avoided the earth pillars that pierced from below. At the same time, he waved the fan with his palm and directly cut the earth pillars in half. Even if he underestimated them before, he had to admit that this group of Uchiha ninjas really cooperated well, as if they had cooperated many times. But still, Masha didn't want to deal with more than a dozen people by himself. He just wanted to delay them and wait for Sakura Shinobu to come. Yes, that's right. Follow me to the country. Masha fought and retreated, constantly dragging the Uchiha ninjas away from the border. Uchiha Fugaku didn't realize this. Although some of his clansmen were killed occasionally, in his opinion, Masha couldn't hold on for much longer. If that's the case, whoever can defeat this sand shinobi, Uchiha Fugaku, will definitely reward that ninja when he returns home. I'll even ask the Patriarch to give you a chance to read the secret scroll of Uchiha. You! Uchiha secret scroll? Hearing the young Patriarch's words, all the Uchiha ninjas couldn't help but be stunned. Uchiha secret scroll, almost all the ninjas in the clan know about it, but except for the direct blood relatives of the Patriarch, very few people can read it. The reason is very simple, because according to legend, it not only records the mysteries of the Sharingan, but also many high-level ninjutsu and forbidden techniques. The dignity of the Uchiha can't be lost. Many Uchiha ninjas looked at each other a few times and understood the passion in each other's eyes. Even if Ma Sha's strength is strong, he is now almost 60 years old, and has long passed the peak age of ninja. How long can this old guy last? Since they don't participate in a war, it's very difficult for them to get merit points, and naturally, they won't get the opportunity to see the Scroll of Seals. Now that there's a scroll of the Uchiha clan, how many ninjas wouldn't be tempted? So in an instant, many Uchiha ninjas rushed up again. But they didn't notice that a team of Sakura Shinobu had circled around them from the side. Young Patriarch, there are a lot of chakra behind us. When the censor ninja perceived the situation behind them, he hurriedly informed Uchiha Fugaku. What? From the direction of the fire country? Yes, they are very fast, and they are coming in. Is there anyone else from Woodleaf? Fugaku asked doubtfully. After all, they came from the direction of the fire country. But soon he knew, because he could clearly see the figure of the attacking ninjas, but unfortunately, the one in the front was wearing the Sand Village's uniform. After receiving the order, Sakura Shinobu's troops immediately attacked here. In order to ensure that they could surround the Uchiha ninjas, they deliberately separated some ninjas, bypassed the perception range, and inserted themselves behind the Uchiha. So when Uchiha Fugaku saw a large number of Sakura Shinobu, he was a little desperate. Am I going to die? I am only 17 years old this year. Chapter 295. As expected, the large number of Sakura Shinobu surrounded the Uchiha clan and wanted to eat them all in one go. The difference in strength between the two sides was too big. Even if the Uchiha clan were all jonins with strong individual strength, there would be times when the Chakra clan was not enough to deal with a sea of people. This was a confrontation without any suspense. Therefore, the most important thing was to break through the encirclement and return to the fire country. With the current situation of both sides, it was impossible for Masa to send troops to fight across the border. Otherwise, it would be a new war. He could not bear such a responsibility. But there was still the problem, all the escape routes were cut off, and this place was far away in the Kawa country, there would be no reinforcements in a short time. In this case, Uchiha Fugaku, who had no other choice, could only retreat with the remaining clansmen and look for a weak breakthrough point. But as the pursuing Sakura Shinobu gathered together, the encirclement slowly shrank. In the end, the original team of 20 people was reduced to 12 people. At this time, in a cave somewhere in the Kawa country. Can we still break out now? Fugaku looked at the clansmen around him and asked. Everyone was silent. Once the encirclement was formed, how could it be so easy to break out, especially when the combat power was not proportional? The struggle of a trapped beast was just the prelude to death. Seeing that no one spoke, Fugaku also blamed himself in his heart. If he had not been so stubborn, he would not have ended up like this, and his clansmen would not have fallen into such a desperate situation. He was unwilling. Why did things turn out like this? Uchiha Fugaku did not know, nor did he understand, but suddenly, he thought of that boy. When he faced Akira Uchiha before, although he listened to his father's orders and was very respectful on the surface, he was actually very dissatisfied in his heart. How could he be convinced? Up until now, Fugaku was only 17 years old, and it was inevitable that he was young and impetuous. Especially after hearing the words neighbor's child, he would more or less have some rebellious thoughts. Even occasionally, Uchiha Fugaku would think that if he was in Akira Uchiha's shoes, he might not be worse than Akira Uchiha. He just didn't have the chance. After that, his experience in the famous mansion made him mature and steady a lot. However, this did not calm his heart that was unwilling to be ordinary. Instead, it made him even more eager to try. Fugaku had always believed that as long as he was given the opportunity, he would definitely be able to do something earth-shattering. This was also the reason why he took the initiative to accept this mission. If Akira Uchiha knew what Fugaku was thinking, he would definitely advise him to read more books, read more newspapers, eat less snacks, and sleep more. After all, this kind of symptom, in modern terms, was usually called chunibyu. It was a pity. While Fugaku was still pondering about life, Uchiha Guang, who was the strongest among them, stood up and said lightly, "Try your best to break out of the encirclement. No matter what, we must send the young patriarch out." The other ninjas either frowned or shook their heads, but none of them objected. What else could he do? Leaving Uchiha Fugaku behind? If that was the case, even if he didn't die this time, he wouldn't have a good ending when he returned to the clan. After recollecting himself, Fugaku sighed and his thoughts drifted. If Shen were here, what would he do? If it were him, he would definitely choose to sacrifice himself without hesitation, right? Thinking of this, he, who was still a little confused, finally made up his mind. He then stood up and bowed to everyone. "Everyone, listen to me. This mission is because I, as the young patriarch, was too impulsive, which led to the current situation. In the previous battle, it was you who deliberately protected me that allowed me to live until now. But I can't watch you continue to die. Next, everyone break out of the encirclement. Don't pay attention to me." "Young patriarch," Fugaku raised his hand and interrupted the words of dissuasion. "I have thought it through very clearly. You don't need to persuade me anymore." After that, he bowed to Uchiha Guang and said, "Uncle Guang, if I can return alive, naturally, you don't need to say anything. If I die, please tell my father that this is my own decision. It has nothing to do with others, and don't blame them." Looking at the young patriarch who suddenly grew up, Uchiha Guang was silent for a moment before nodding seriously. "I understand." When the other ninjas saw this situation, they were silent, but in their hearts, they were more or less relieved. Although Sakura Shinobu has a large number of people, their strength is uneven. If these 12 people act separately, Sakura Shinobu's troops will inevitably be separated, then the pressure of each Uchiha ninja will be reduced a lot. At least, they won't have to face as many as dozens of ninjas, right? As long as they want to escape, and if they are lucky, and don't encounter a particularly difficult opponent, they will have a great chance to escape, at least more than now. But the result of this is that Uchiha Fugaku, the young patriarch, will undoubtedly die. This is also the reason why no one proposed this plan before. Everyone knows that Ma Sha's goal has always been Fugaku. Although they don't know the reason, now that the young patriarch has taken the initiative to disperse and escape, there is no burden in their hearts. The eyes looking at Fugaku changed from the previous dissatisfaction to respect again. Fugaku didn't know what everyone was thinking, and even if he knew, he wouldn't care, because Sakura Shinobu's figure appeared again not far away. "Everyone, prepare to break out, disperse." After giving the order, Fugaku chose to attack the depths of the land of river, and the other ninjas also chose their own direction and began to move. "Masha, Sama, the enemy has dispersed." A perceptual ninja half knelt on the ground. "Oh, this choice really surprised me." Masha smiled and continued, "Every Uchiha ninja, split up a small team to chase after them. If the enemy is too strong, let them go, pay attention to the border of the land of fire, don't chase anymore. As for the rest, come with me to capture the young patriarch of the Uchiha ninja alive." "Yes." 5 minutes later, the besieged Fugaku glanced at the large number of Sakura Shinobu around him, and his eyes slowly became dignified, and then he clenched the kunai in his hand. Bang! He dodged a wind release, and then a streamer in the air, and finally killed the ninja who had been entangled for a long time. Damn it! Although he killed the enemy, Fugaku didn't have any pride in his heart, because before the enemy died, he also fiercely cut his leg. Now, there are already 2 deep wounds on his body, one on his back, the other on his thigh, and the blood dripped on the ground, bringing a piercing pain. The most important thing is that although in order to save chakra, he has not used ninjutsu, but until now, there is not much chakra left in the battle. Fugaku is not reconciled, he is really not reconciled, he is only 17 years old, he has no family, he has no children, he has not led Uchiha to rise. He only felt an incomparable fear directly piercing his heart, but after his heart was incubated, this incomparable fear turned into anger. This anger came so inexplicably, before Uchiha Fugaku himself reacted, this anger had already broken through his heart. Suddenly, he felt a tingling in his eyes, and the Sharingan that had been closed opened again and began to rotate wildly. When he looked at it, the 2 Tomo Sharingan has evolved into 3 Tomo. Chapter 296. Ahahaha, I said I'm not destined to die. Fugaku waved his kunai like a madman. For a while, no one dared to rush forward. Masha, who was standing in the crowd, looked at Fugaku with interest. He has fought with the Uchiha clan many times, and he has seen a sudden evolution in battle, but every time he sees it, he feels very strange. It's a pity that the Sharingan can't be used by non-Uchiha clan ninjas. Otherwise, there will be more ninjas who want to use it than the Byakugan. This is also the reason why the Uchiha clan doesn't need the caged bird curse. Feeling the recovery of chakra and the surge of power in his eyes, Fugaku has never felt so good. Therefore, with his confidence skyrocketing again, he rushed out and once again fought with several Sakura Shinobu. It didn't take long for Sakura Shinobu to fall down one after another, and at the same time, more and more wounds appeared on his body. Oh, your speed has become faster, and your reaction is also better, worthy of the 3 Tomo Sharingan. Masha showed a greedy look. But that's it. He won't dig out his eyes and replace them with Sharingan that will not only not increase his strength, but also become a burden. At this time, Fugaku, who was fighting madly in the crowd, from the expansion of his confidence, fell to the bottom again. Because he found that he still can't escape. Not only that, a lot of wounds were torn in the battle, and at this time, he was already blood-stained, and he was a little shaky. Chakra, which has just recovered a little, is about to be exhausted. This is more embarrassing. Doesn't it mean that before he can take off, his leg will be broken again? Seeing Fugaku's speed slow down again, Masha ordered one of his subordinates faintly, "Finish him as soon as possible." Yes. As the voice fell, the Sakura Shinobu appeared behind Fugaku, and a long sword appeared in his hand. Bang! Fugaku held the kunai in his hand to block the sword, but the powerful slash made him directly retreat a few steps, and then the dense white sword light fell again. Countless blades slashed at Fugaku from all directions, but because of the 3 Tomo Sharingan's dynamic bonus, the attacks that couldn't be seen clearly were barely blocked by him. But that's all he could do. The Sakura Shinobu chuckled, increased his strength again, and at the same time, jumped up, and slashed at Fugaku's throat. Fugaku quickly took out another kunai and used the ring on the end of the kunai to block the opponent's broadsword. But this resistance only lasted for a moment. The Sand Ninja's sword suddenly flashed with a blue light, attached with a high-frequency lightning release attack. In an instant the kunai in his hand was cut off. But the violent thunder left two's Shinobu's S to escape to the end. To the violent, left. The Sakura Shinobu sneered, and then kicked Fugaku's thigh. The leg that was kicked made the sound of bones breaking. Fugaku, who had never experienced such pain before, wanted to scream, but no sound came out. Then, like a kite with a broken string, he flew out, hit a stone, and rolled down the slope. Fugaku lay on the ground like a dead dog, breathing weakly, but he had no ability to fight. Am I going to die? He was a little desperate. Because no matter how hard he struggled, he roared in his heart, he couldn't move. And the sound of footsteps getting closer and closer was like a countdown to death. No, there must be some way that I haven't thought of yet. Fugaku hadn't given up yet. He had just awakened the 3 Tomo Sharingan. If he gave up like this, he would lose everything. A voice kept coming in his mind, making him not give up the so-called hope of survival. What is it? The hazy will told him that as long as he can grasp a few words in his mind, he can survive this nightmare. But the pain in his legs always distracted Fugaku's memory. He seemed to see his father and clansmen in the village. I don't know if those clansmen can go back alive, but I'm going to die. Yes, Fugaku suddenly remembered the Uchiha secret scroll he mentioned before. At the last moment of life and death, he struggled, raised his hand, and made 3 hand seals with the remaining chakra. Maohami. Then, while endless pain came from his left eye, the ninjutsu from the Uchiha ancestor was successfully released. Izanagi. Is he dead? Masha looked at his subordinates and asked. He's dead, Masha-sama. That's good. I don't know what he saw before he died, but he smiled so happily. Masha looked at Fugaku's sweet smile and couldn't help but ridicule him. Sir, what about the body? Just leave it here. Those Uchiha ninjas who escaped will probably come back to collect the body. Let them bring it to Uchiha Mountain. Ha 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 ha. After that, Masha ordered the troops to return to the Land of Wind. With the departure of the troops, the Land of Wind became quiet again. The cold November wind blew the dead branches of the bushes, making a whistling sound. After a long time, Uchiha Fugaku, who was already cold, suddenly opened his eyes. But his left eye, the originally blood-red 3-tomo Sharingan, slowly withered and turned gray. Fugaku, lying on the ground, groaned in pain, and then turned into ecstasy. Ha 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 ha, I'm still alive. Because of the laughter, the wound on his face was affected, and he grimaced in pain again. Isn't it said that Izanagi can turn all the harm suffered by the caster, including death, into a dream? Why didn't the wound heal? Fugaku, lying on the ground, couldn't help but burst out swearing. With his current situation, it is estimated that he will die here before his clansmen come to find him. Am I going to be the first Uchiha to use Izanagi and end up dead? Fugaku was a little scared. At this moment, a white spore suddenly swelled under the ground and attached to his right leg. Because his right leg was broken and he couldn't feel it, Fugaku didn't feel anything unusual. He didn't know how long he had been lying there, but he suddenly felt that his chakra had recovered a little, and his injury seemed to have lessened a lot. So he struggled to stand up, dragging his broken right leg. He slowly walked toward the Land of Fire. Chapter 297. In the depths of an unknown underground, thick roots extended around irregularly, attached to the dry earth wall. Here, silence and darkness coexisted, gloomy and terrifying. Deep in the darkness, there was a huge stone statue of a human. The stone statue had 9 closed eyes, and its color and body were like dead wood. Below the stone statue, several pipes extended forward and pierced into the body of a white-haired old man. The old man leaned on a walking stick and sat on a stone platform. His expression was cold and indifferent, and the 2 empty eye sockets under his bangs added a bit of horror to his appearance. The old man looked at the darkness in front of him, or he could only see the darkness without eyes. But what does it matter? As long as he wants, the whole ninja world can't hide from him. The dark ground suddenly fluctuated, and it seemed to be slowly twisting, and finally, a pure white creature came out. Hey, Madara-sama, you woke up so early this time. The white creature used an exaggerated tone to express its surprise, but no matter how one looked at it, it seemed to be acting. Well, how long have I slept this time? Madara raised his head slightly. Well, this. The white creature tilted its head and thought for a while, then said, 7,777 days. It's been 20 years? The old man's tone finally changed. After all, anyone who hears this number will feel too damn scary. Wrong, Madara-sama. The white creature waved his hand quickly. I got confused. This is the time I didn't take a shit. I'll go and count. Every day, I'll carve a scratch on it. Please wait a moment. Madara snorted, but he didn't say anything, nor was he impatient. For him, time is the most worthless thing. And White Zetsu, the clone of Hashirama's cells, can be regarded as a slow night's entertainment. 5 minutes later, White Zetsu, who finally finished counting the scratches, looked up excitedly and shouted to the old man on the stone chair, Madara-sama, I finished counting, a total of 186 days. Half a year. Madara nodded and then continued to ask, is there anything noteworthy recently? Yes. The 3 generations of Kazekage were captured by Orochimaru, Hatsuki Shigeru, Jiraiya, and Akira Uchiha, and then the Sand Village surrendered and signed the agreement. The Sand Village's defeat was expected. Madara showed a look of understanding, but then shook his head and said disdainfully, the 3 generations of Kazekage are really a waste, and each generation is worse than the previous one. I think Hashirama and I. You've been fighting for 3 days and 3 nights, and it's a clash of muscles, a contest of souls. I know. You've described it several times. For some reason, the old man felt that this sealed underground space was a little stuffy. What about the cloud and the rock? They're still fighting, White Zetsu said. Inoki, that kid, really hasn't made any progress. White Zetsu asked, then why are you helping him? If you didn't release the Hachibi, maybe the Shinobi World War would have already ended. I'm not helping Inoki, I'm helping all human beings. The old man replied faintly. He learned from the stone tablet that in ancient times, there was no chakra. People could only live on this land like the most ordinary creatures. Later, the sage of the 6 paths appeared, and he spread this invisible force in the world. Therefore, human beings have extraordinary abilities. Under the leadership of the sage of the 6 paths, human beings with chakra were like gods walking on earth. They built many temples, so that new believers from all over the world could share wisdom and love together. In that short period of time, human beings seemed to sublimate themselves calmly, transcend the shackles of the world, and achieve true peace. However, human beings are mortal and vulnerable to the temptation of arrogance, hatred, impatience, and greed. With the passage of time, some people began to tarnish the teachings of the sage of the 6 paths, distorting and abusing this power for their own selfish desires. Since then, wars have been born. Stronger, more direct, and more destructive wars. What followed was the fall of human beings, and the darkness that lasted for thousands of years. In Madara's view, the Shinobi World War is the peak of the expansion of darkness. If human beings want to embrace the light, they must bear the darkness. The deeper the darkness, the greater the pain, and the more human beings yearn for the light. And my Uchiha Madara. There was a flush on his face. I will be the one who lights the light. After a long time, White Zetsu looked at the old man sitting on the stone chair and couldn't help but ask, Madara-sama, are you asleep? No, what's wrong? The guy named Uchiha Fugaku you asked me to monitor had an accident today. Then White Zetsu told Madara everything he saw, including all the things that Fugaku showed in the battle, incisively and in great detail. Finally, I went to check and found that the guy was dead, but he came back to life. It's Izanagi. The old man touched his empty eyes and continued, this technique can turn all the injuries, including death, suffered by the caster into a dream. But the price is that the eyes will lose the light forever. In that case, why didn't the guy's injuries get better? Otherwise, I wouldn't have to give him a little chakra. According to your description, he was lying on the ground, so the Sharingan only recorded his physical condition when he was lying on the ground, and the injuries were naturally recorded together. I see. White Zetsu nodded with satisfaction after getting the answer, and then asked, do you still need to monitor him? Just monitor him. Although Fugaku's left eye is blind, in Madara's view, it's not a big deal. As long as he wants, even if he is a waste, he can train him. Therefore, strength is not the key. It's good to be strong, and it doesn't matter if he is weak. The key is love. As long as there is love, the deeper the darkness, and the stronger the power of hatred. With the Manjikyu Sharingan, he can walk in the ninja world as a substitute for Uchiha Madara and complete the preparation of the infinite Tsukuyomi. Fugaku has love, otherwise, he will not choose to sacrifice himself to protect his people. But the only thing that dissatisfied Madara is that this person wants to do something, but he is a little cowardly. If that's all, at most, he can be regarded as a low-level version of Flying Ape Nichiren, but the key is, his ability is not good, and he is overcautious. For example, In this incident, since they knew that they fell into Sakura Shinobu's trap, they should have chosen to disperse and break out immediately. After all, the encirclement was not fully formed at that time, instead of breaking out at the last moment. That's why Madara said, after all, he has many candidates in his hands. Even if this generation is not good, he can wait for the next generation of ninjas to be born, or, the last thing he lacks is time. How is Nagato? He is still living in the cabin with Yahiko and Konan. While practicing, he occasionally goes to the nearby town to help ordinary people. Well, it seems that it will take a long time for him to grow up. What about the Sharingan? I have collected a lot of them, and they are all placed next to the Gedo Mazo. Do you want to change them now? I can do it myself. You continue to monitor. Understood. White Zetsu nodded slowly, and like mud, he slowly melted into the ground and disappeared. After White Zetsu disappeared, Madara slowly stood up, and without holding his crutch, he walked toward the Gedo Mazo. When he touched the body of the Gedo Mazo, his hands trembled slightly, and his face showed an ecstatic expression. Soon, my successor will capture them all, and return them to your embrace. At that time, Madara opened his arms. I will be resurrected and come to this world again. I will transform and become the new sage of the Six Paths. I will prove that there is only one way to peace, and Hashirama will live forever in my infinite Tsukuyomi. The old man slowly looked up and stared at the darkness somewhere, and a smile slowly appeared on his withered face. I have been waiting for so many years. Chapter 298. As November entered the middle of the month, Woodleaf began to enter a high-speed recovery period. At this time, the village's heritage was reflected. Possessing the most fertile land, the most convenient transportation, and the best climate, Woodleaf seemed to have turned on the accelerator, and it quickly recovered its prosperity at a jaw-dropping speed. Countless commissions and tasks flew toward the Naruto building, which made Sandame Naruto's old face wrinkled like a blooming chrysanthemum. Therefore, when no one was around, he couldn't help but sing a song, which was said to be composed by a genin named Kuratsuchi. The spring breeze of reform blows all over the ground. Woodleaf people are really good. But as he sang, he found that too many tasks were not a good thing. The village sent out all the ninjas, but there were still a bunch of tasks piled up in the office. If it wasn't for the fear of spoiling things, Sandame Naruto was ready to implement the wartime policy and let the students of the ninja school graduate early. However, this can only be regarded as a happy annoyance. Other Kage can't even think about it. Especially Anoki. He was so anxious that he couldn't wait to immediately send 10,000 strong rock ninjas to hang the Raikage for 3 days and 3 nights. Before, because of the psychological shadow, Anoki always felt that Woodleaf was disgusting. Now compared to the Cloud Village, he didn't know whether it was an illusion or not, but he felt that Woodleaf became more handsome. It can be seen how much the Tsuchikage hated the Cloud Village. However, whether he was angry or happy, it had nothing to do with Akira Uchiha. Now he could only concentrate on the corridor of Woodleaf Hospital, waiting for the good news from the delivery room. It's the good news from the operating room. But then again, the whole operation took too long. Even if she gave birth, it should be done by now, right? Akira Uchiha waited from 9 o'clock in the morning. During this period, he only went out once. When he went to the hospital to buy lunch, he also bought some for Tsunade, who might be coming out soon. In the end, he waited until 4 o'clock in the afternoon before the lights in the operating theater turned from red to green. Akira Uchiha walked briskly to the door of the operating theater and saw Tsunade pushing the door open and walking out. Her expression was incomparably heavy, and then she shook her head sorrowfully and said, "Sorry, we've already... I went to the wrong set." That should be the case. Tsunade walked out expressionlessly, stretched, and said, "The operation was a success." "Thank you, Teacher Tsunade. It's okay, I took your red packet of 300,000 taels, so you're the boss." Tsunade's voice was very loud, as if she was afraid that others couldn't hear her. It seemed that she had received some news again. But it didn't matter. Although Tsunade was greedy and shameless, he still had medical skills. Speaking of which, today's Tsunade was a bit radiant. Compared to his slovenly appearance a few days ago, he was like a completely different person. Tut tut, no wonder even a brat like Lu Jiao has a crush on her. Brat, what's with that look? Nothing. Akira Uchiha shook his head and then said, just like one of your friends, who usually looks like a hooligan, but who knows that after dressing up, she's actually a great beauty. This kind of setting is very interesting, right? Interesting your head. If you read Jiraiya's erotic novels again, don't come into my house in the future. Just as Akira Uchiha and Tsunade stood in the corridor and talked, the entire Woodleaf Hospital was shocked. Patients kept coming out of the ward, wanting to see this medical master. Basically, every few minutes, a ninja would come to greet him. Most of the patients in Woodleaf Hospital had been to the battlefield, and few of them had not been treated by Tsunade. As for Akira Uchiha, his presence was infinitely reduced. Damn, don't you want to save face? After a while, Tsunade, who was a little impatient, said to Akira Uchiha after greeting a ninja, "Okay, I'm going back to rest. I have to operate on Patriarch Hyuga tomorrow." "Well, thank you for your hard work." Akira Uchiha expressed his gratitude again. Hyuga Sky finally decided to do the operation. As for where the Byakugan came from, Akira Uchiha didn't know. "It's a little hard. It seems that it's time to find an apprentice to take over my job," Tsunade murmured. Akira Uchiha's eyes lit up. Speaking of apprentices, before he finished speaking, he was interrupted by Tsunade. "Don't recommend, I know who you want to talk about. I just mentioned it casually. Chunin left the village after the exam, and I didn't have time to take care of her." Tsunade waved his hand and took 2 steps forward, then tilted his head and said, "By the way, you're already the 3rd person to recommend her. You guys did it on purpose, right?" After that, Tsunade snorted proudly, then put his hands in his pockets and strode toward the office. Akira Uchiha's face was full of question marks. "How did you know I was going to recommend an apprentice? What if I was talking about an apprentice and then thought of Journey to the West, early next year, Sino-American cooperation? Both literary and artistic. Then wouldn't you be embarrassed?" That's why Tsunade was really rude. Akira Uchiha muttered in his heart for a long time, then sighed. Well, he was indeed going to recommend an apprentice, and he already had a candidate. It was Nanoyu. After all, this child was called the Walking Witch in the manga, and she also served as the medical minister. Naturally, her talent was great. At least when she grew up, she could fill the void left by Tsunade's departure. But listening to Tsunade's words, it seemed that someone had recommended her, and there were 2 people. Who could it be? There were not many people who knew about Nanoyu, and even fewer people who knew that Nanoyu had a good relationship with Tsunade. Shina Kushina was naturally one of them. She had been with Nanoyu every day for the past 2 years, and they were so close that they almost slept in the same bed. Akira Uchiha also casually mentioned this to her, and if Shina Kushina cared, she should take the initiative to tell Tsunade. Then, who was the other person? With such doubts, Akira Uchiha walked into the ward. Because her right hand had been operated on, the anesthetic had not yet worn off, so Mikoto had not yet woken up. According to the medical ninja, it would take about 4 hours for her to fully regain consciousness. Before Tsunade left, he had asked the nurse to prepare the medicinal materials to boil the medicine. When Mikoto woke up, the follow-up treatment would be further followed. A few hours passed in the blink of an eye. During this time, the nurse came twice. The first time was to check on Mikoto, who still hadn't woken up, and the second time was to bring over the medicine she had prepared. It was not until nearly 8 o'clock in the evening that Mikoto woke up from the coma. "You're awake." Akira Uchiha stood up from the chair, lifted the hospital bed, and picked up a small bowl on the bedside table. "Tsunade, Sensei has already said that you should drink this bowl of medicine as soon as you wake up." Mikoto's right hand was now bandaged, and she was basically in a state where she could not move. She could only let Akira Uchiha feed her spoon by spoon. "Well, your operation was very successful. You can be discharged in 2 days, don't worry. There are also Shinakushina, Rope Tree, and the others. I drove them away several times. They will come to see you again tomorrow." Hearing Akira Uchiha's words, Mikoto glanced at him, then gently nodded. "Drink this first. I asked the nurse to prepare a nutritious meal for the night. Eat it and then go to sleep. I will be here with you tonight." "Okay." Half asleep, Mikoto softly responded. Chapter 299. Being free from disease and disaster is the greatest happiness. For this sentence, Mikoto, who stayed in the hospital for many days, deeply believed. So 3 days later, she couldn't wait to remove the bandage, packed up her clothes and returned to the house she had been away from for a long time. The house was as clean as when she left. It can be seen that someone came to clean it every day. Touching the newly bought furniture, Mikoto couldn't help but smile. The next day, she got up early and walked to the training ground. According to the requirements of the Woodleaf Ninja Manual, each team has a quota of tasks to complete every month, but because of Mikoto's injury, she was directly released by Akira Uchiha in November. But since she has recovered, as a Jonin mentor, Akira Uchiha naturally has to gather his team members. But in fact, it's only Mikoto and Shina Kushina. As for Watergate and Rope Tree, one was taken to Mount Mayaboku by Jiraiya to eat insects, and the other was caught by Tsunade for special training. Since there are two of the Sannin, Akira Uchiha is happy to be free, but in exchange, he must temporarily take care of Shina Kushina for Tsunade. It's as if Tsunade used to take care of her. However, it's sad enough to think about it. Akira Uchiha found that his first team has not completed many tasks, and they are always in a state of shortage of people. She always felt that she was clearly an AD, but she was inexplicably positioned as a nanny. How could she explain this to them? Looking at the two girls whispering together in front of him, Akira Uchiha couldn't help but sigh. "What are you talking about? This is a topic between girls. It's not something you should know." Shina Kushina cutely stuck out her tongue. "But I'm a Jonin now, and the Chunin registration form doesn't have my signature, so you can't go." Akira Uchiha deliberately made a serious face. "If you dare, Mikoto and I will beat you up." Shina Kushina raised her chin and waved her fist threateningly. Sure enough, this was the blood-red chili that everyone knew. After pretending to be a lady for a while, she had finally changed back. After the three of them fooled around for a while, Akira Uchiha cleared his throat and started talking about today's meeting. "From next month onwards, our team will be carrying out missions, so we'll be training the two of you." "Really?" Upon hearing this, Shina Kushina became very happy. To be honest, she had been in the village for the past 3 years, and there was no one to teach or supervise her. She had wasted a lot of time, which was why she was so excited. In comparison, although Mikoto was not as excited, she was also eager to try. After all, she had been lying in bed for so long. Somewhere in Woodleaf Village. Lightning release. Earth walk. Mikoto released lightning from her hands and spread it on the ground, then hit a wooden stake. In an instant, the wooden stake was torn apart. "How's your right hand?" Standing in the corner of the training ground, Akira Uchiha asked. "Very good." Mikoto nodded excitedly. "There's no chakra stagnant feeling, and my hand doesn't hurt anymore." "That's for sure. Tsunade-sensei's medical ethics may not be good, but his medical skills are excellent. However, you have to pay special attention in the following training. Chidori can't be used more than 4 times a day." "Well, I know." Akira Uchiha pondered for a moment and continued, "Actually, if your chakra allows, it's not impossible to practice more." Mikoto tilted her head and motioned him to continue. Akira Uchiha walked to the center of the training ground and stretched out his hands. Cho, Mu, Shin. After quickly forming the hand seals, lightning release, chakra quickly gathered on his right hand, then slowly let out a bird-like sound. But this wasn't the end. Akira Uchiha put his left hand on his right hand, and with the help of Chidori that was about to take shape, his left hand was also covered by lightning release, and then the two hands separated, but at the same time, they let out a bird-like sound. Chidori. Double piercing light. After demonstrating ninjutsu, Mikoto couldn't help but ask, "Why haven't I seen this before?" Akira Uchiha laughed. This is something I slowly figured out after your hand had problems. In fact, there's also Rasengan, double piercing light. How about it? Isn't the name cool? But I can barely master Chidori right now. I'm not asking you to use 2 Chidori at once, I just want to tell you that you don't have to use your right hand, sometimes your left hand is fine too. Mikoto nodded thoughtfully. But this move seems simple, but it's actually not that simple. For example, if you're right-handed and suddenly use your left hand to write or eat, you'll naturally feel uncomfortable. Of course, Akira Uchiha also saw a master who could write with both hands at the same time in his previous life, and the handwriting was very beautiful. This kind of skill is not something that ordinary people can use. Therefore, don't think it's troublesome. The more troublesome it is, the more benefits you'll get in the end. For example, Mikoto, as long as she can learn this training method, at least it's a relief for her meridians at her age, and in battle, her combat power will be stronger. At the same time, this move also has obvious benefits to improve the control of chakra. After teaching Mikoto, Akira Uchiha led the little fox to the other side of the training ground. The reason why he wanted to stay away was because during the teaching, not only did he have to explain a lot of details, but he also had to demonstrate ninjutsu, which is very disturbing. The movements caused by high-level ninjutsu are always huge, even if it's the most inconspicuous Rasengan. On the other side of the wood leaf training ground, the excited little fox and Akira Uchiha stood together. Is it still Rasengan? Akira Uchiha shook his head. Let's not talk about this first, I have something to ask you. What? Did you recommend Nanoyu to Tsunade-sensei? Shina Kushina nodded honestly. Didn't you say that she's talented in medical ninjutsu? So I wanted to recommend her to Tsunade-sensei. Other than you, is there anyone else who recommended her? Shina Kushina slightly panicked. I don't know. Akira Uchiha narrowed his eyes. Your face is red, now you know how to lie to me? Shina Kushina covered her mouth and said in a muffled voice, I promised not to tell anyone. How about this, I'll say the name, if yes, you nod, if no, shake your head. This way, if you don't say anything, it won't be counted as a leak. How about it? Shina Kushina tilted her head and thought for a while, then she agreed. After all, if this kind of gossip didn't spread, she would feel very uncomfortable, like a fox scratching her heart. Is that person Rope Tree? Shina Kushina. She guessed it right, no sense of accomplishment at all. Looking at Shina Kushina's face, Akira Uchiha showed a look of understanding. It really is Rope Tree. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Rope Tree, you thick eyebrows and big eyes guy, you actually betrayed the FFF group? Unforgivable. Chapter 300. Unrequited love was definitely a beautiful word, but all of this was based on a certain limit. If this limit was exceeded, unrequited love would become a sad and self-deprecating word, bootlicker. In the manga, Jiraiya was undoubtedly the best in this aspect. When he was young, he had unrequited love. Later on, he transformed from a bronze-level bootlicker to a hardcore bootlicker, until he had nothing. Of course, this was not a hint about Rope Tree's future. After all, Akira Uchiha was still waiting for him to give birth to his daughter-in-law. But a certain someone swore to the heavens that he would find a mature woman. The words were still ringing in his ears. Why did he suddenly change his mind? This was not to say that Yin Ayu was young, but because of her wandering from place to place when she was young, the 12-year-old looked like an 8 or 9-year-old. She was also much shorter than her peers. She could not be considered a mature woman. Therefore, Akira Uchiha asked around. Shina Kushina's burning gossipy heart immediately threw her promise to Rope Tree to the back of her mind and spilled everything like beans. In Shina Kushina's words, Yin Ayu went to play with her every day. Rope Tree, who lived near the gate, often went to open the door. After a few times, he became interested in her. Later on, when Rope Tree heard that Shina Kushina was recommending a disciple, he hurriedly went to find his sister. He wanted to use this relationship to win Yi Nayu's favor. Unfortunately, he bumped into the muzzle of a gun. Not only did Tsunade reject him, he even took him for special training. This was really a sad love story. However, Shinakushina did not care about Rope Tree's life or death. She was more concerned about her best friend. Chen, what about Yi Nayu? Didn't she already graduate? Why? Is she not happy in the team now? Shinakushina shook her head. No, she just graduated half a year ago. She's doing low-level missions in Woodleaf. There's nothing to be happy about. It's just that you said she's talented in medical ninjutsu, but her sensei doesn't know any medical ninjutsu. Akira Uchiha rubbed his chin and said, "That's a problem. I've never heard of her current teacher. He doesn't seem to be very powerful." To be honest, this was the norm. Nanoyu was an orphan who grew up outside. Although he entered Woodleaf by relying on the woman from Root, that was the end of it. Firstly, she didn't show any talent. Secondly, she was too old. One had to know that she was the same age as Akira Uchiha and the others. They had already graduated 2 years ago and had even been on the battlefield. On the other hand, Yi Nayu had only taken a crash course and had just graduated. There were many jonins in Woodleaf, but there were even more genin who graduated. Why not leave a good teacher to the children in their village? If it weren't for Shinakushina's face, it's possible that Sandame Naruto would have directly thrown Nanoyu into Chunin's class. This was also Tsunade's opinion. It's true that she didn't have time, but more importantly, she didn't want to casually accept a child to teach medicine, which led to the current situation. In the ninja world, talent is naturally very important, but so is the teacher. Akira Uchiha didn't know how Nanoyu stood out in his previous life, but it should have a lot to do with Root. Now that he's a little butterfly, it's impossible for her to enter Root. If things continue like this, it's not impossible for Nanoyu to disappear from the crowd. Well, if it doesn't work, I'll talk to Orochimaru sensei. He has always wanted an assistant. Looking at Shinakushina's suspicious eyes, Akira Uchiha knocked her head and said, "Although Orochimaru sensei's temper is a bit strange, but he also knows medicine." He added in his heart, especially the human body transformation. As for whether she will be trained to be as abnormal as Kabuto, that's the problem that Rope Tree has to consider. As a brother, he can only help here. Well, let's not talk about this. Akira Uchiha clapped his hands. It's time to teach you ninjutsu. Shinakushina still wanted to say something, but in the end, she didn't say it, she just pouted and looked like she didn't have the energy to do it. Although you used Rasengan before, you know what it is, so you still don't know how to use it, right? Yes. Great Fox said he would teach me, but he didn't teach me. Hearing Shinakushina put the blame on himself, Kyubi, who was trimming her nails, couldn't help but get angry. I have lived for thousands of years, I still have this bit of credibility. I want to teach you, but you didn't delay it, now you blame me, you uncle. Shinakushina knew that she was in the wrong, so she curled her lips and pretended not to hear it. Akira Uchiha didn't notice Shinakushina's abnormality, but pondered for a moment and said, Rasengan has a high requirement for the control of chakra, it's not suitable for you, I'll teach you a new ninjutsu. Is that so? What are you going to teach? Don't worry, it's also a very powerful ninjutsu. Akira Uchiha habitually reached out his hand and touched the little fox's head, then began to make hand seals. Wind Release, Air Bomb. This ninjutsu was a general ninjutsu, to put it bluntly, it was an enhanced version of Wind Release, Air Bomb. However, after Akira Uchiha improved it, not only did he reduce the number of hand seals, but he also added chakra's form and nature changes. The difficulty of learning it completely reached a class. However, he naturally wouldn't give the improved version to the little fox, not because he was stingy, but because Shinakushina wasn't at that level. If he had to give the whole ninjutsu to her, it would be better to let her learn Rasengan, the difficulty would be much lower. Under Akira Uchiha's control, a huge chakra wind ball appeared in his hand. The wind ball quickly expanded to the diameter of a normal adult's height. It looked like Odama Rasengan. After throwing the spinning wind ball into the sandpit, Akira Uchiha pulled Shina Kushina back again. The air bomb's power is higher. If you don't want to be splashed with sand, it's better to stay away. After he finished speaking, a huge sound and vibration came in an instant. Under the violent explosion of the A-class wind-release air bomb, the sky looked like it was raining sand. Even though Akira Uchiha and Shina Kushina were standing so far away, they couldn't avoid it. Fortunately, he was quick-witted and used his wind escape technique to separate all of them the moment the sand and stones fell. Shina Kushina didn't say anything. In fact, this was the first time she saw Akira Uchiha use wind release of this level. Although she knew that the young man's illusion and lightning release were very powerful. It was very powerful, but no matter how hard he tried, he would never have thought that the wind escape technique would not lose to the lightning escape technique. Speaking of which, her element was also wind, but it seemed that she didn't use it much. Shina Kushina thought, then slowly walked to the sand pit to take a look. She found that the originally flat sand pit had been directly cleared by the huge explosion and the rotating force of wind release. Only an empty pit was left. Chen, this power, how is it compared to Rasengan? Little Fox asked curiously. Well, Rasengan is better than Rasengan in terms of seal and single-point destruction, but in terms of large-scale destruction, the improved air bomb's power is already higher than Rasengan. If it's the third stage of air bomb, its power will be close to S-class. Yes, I want to learn it. Shina Kushina nodded without hesitation. The reason why he taught Shina Kushina the A-class wind-release ninjutsu air bomb instead of Rasengan was not only because Rasengan's control of chakra was high. As an Uzumaki, Shina Kushina had a huge amount of chakra, and with a QB power bank in her body, Akira Uchiha felt that it would be a waste of talent if he didn't learn a few powerful and high-energy ninjutsu. Although he could learn from Prince Taiko, 2 moves can eat everything. If it's not meatballs, it's clones. Naruto's real rise was after he learned Sage Mode, and then Kyuubi Mode. But before that, to be honest, he relied more on Mouth Jutsu. If he really wanted to compare, Sasuke, who followed Orochimaru at the same time, would have no problem killing him. So Akira Uchiha didn't dare to let Shina Kushina learn from him. She could be a quiet cannon. Why would she rush in and kill a brittle skin? After that, under the urging of Little Fox, Akira Uchiha began to explain the hand seals to her and the operation of chakra in her body. In all fairness, Little Fox's talent wasn't low. He only explained 2 or 3 times, including the things to pay attention to in ninjutsu, and then let Shina Kushina go to the side to practice wind release. The November sun wasn't hot, and it even felt warm when it shone directly on the body. Akira Uchiha was about to find a deserted corner and take a nap, but he heard footsteps coming from afar. These slightly heavy footsteps were obviously not made by 2 girls. When he lazily opened his eyes, he was surprised to see a figure in front of him. Uchiha Fugaku. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.